This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram at Lone Wolf PB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community. HK Army is at it again with some top-notch creations that will be dropping soon, and this episode is brought to you by the new Alpha Air Tank from HK Army. These tanks are the lightest and most stylish tanks HK has ever created, and myself and Houston Heat were absolutely loving the feel and look of these Alpha Air Tanks in Las Vegas. Stay tuned to PTG and HK Army for the official launch date happening soon, and head over to hkarmy.com to secure yours when they drop. You are not going to believe how light the Alpha Air Tank is going to make your setup feel, and you can get it by going to hkarmy.com when they drop.
What's going on, PTG Nation? Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode. We have none other than Mike Bianca, head coach of the New Orleans Hurricanes, the team that has shocked the world in Las Vegas and went on a massive run all the way to the finals. The Hurricanes are a beacon of light for any upcoming divisional teams that feel like they might need to have a high budget or, find a way to acquire some superstars in order to succeed. That is absolutely not the case. The Hurricanes are proving everybody wrong and really building their team the right way. So getting to sit down and talk with Mike about their journey and everything that goes into making the sauce was an incredible conversation. Without further ado, we're going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon.
Great shot by all the guys. So Tyler Harmon saved that game.
He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode 240 of the Play the Game podcast. We have the man of the hour and absolute stud, Mike Bianca from New Orleans Hurricanes, who just came off of a very impressive finals performance, and your boys are looking amazing. Shout out to all the hard work you guys have been putting in. How you doing, Mike, and where are you tuning in from, bro?
I'm doing very well, and I'm tuning in from Leeds, Alabama. I can't thank you enough for giving me an opportunity to speak to you two. This is pretty exciting.
The honor
yes,
is ours.
All my guys, my guys are the they're the men of the hour. They're the men of the hour. They executed well.
Well, you guys all are, and it was really impressive and fun to watch the amount of passion and hard work that you guys have put into the process that we hear you talk about all the time, and the mindset and the work ethic that goes along with being in a finals match and being able to have a great tournament like the one you did. Now, coming off of World Cup, it was probably not what you guys wanted. Same with us on Heat. And that, I'm sure, drove you guys to work really hard during the off season as well.
Right. There's so much to unpack there after the World Cup debacle is what I call it. And, we just weren't going to let that happen. We knew coming into this next event, we had so much to work on in the off season. We were shown so many holes in certain things. And so it was a matter of, it really did come down to the culture and adjusting the culture and the way we approached our process. So I'm a very process oriented person. So it came down to making sure we were all on the same page. And I think that's where the disconnect was. We had gotten so comfortable and kind of gotten into mode, right? And guys, you get into that flow. But sometimes you come off the tracks, you don't recognize it because they're not bumpy. And you got to be able to look at it and find the problem and say, hey, we're not connecting. And we need to reassess this, readjust, and we need to get back to work in a different perspective. And I think we had that really come to Jesus meeting, and all the guys bought in, and boy, did they step up.
Yeah, they did. And what were some of those things that you reiterated to create that gumption, that swagger, that cohesion that you need to win? Because it takes a complete cohesive unit, and it takes a chip on the shoulder. It takes some swagger and some flavor too. You know, you got to come correct with the right sauce if you're going to make it far in an event, and if you're going to be a dominant figure in paintball. So what were some of the things that you reiterated coming out of World Cup going into 2024?
Well, like we said, we revisited the culture. We had to understand what we have a limited amount of time. We're not able to, we're all spread out. So when we have to be efficient with our time, and we have to recognize what we need to be focusing on every moment. So we set goals. You know, we talk about this a lot. You'll hear me talk about setting goals, but we set goals for practice. We set goals for what we're doing during the week. We set goals for, you know, when we're on the Zoom call, we have agendas. So we revisited the culture, and we just kind of looked at it and we said, look, number one, we got to be deliberate from day one. You've got to be disciplined. That's a word I don't think people fully understand these days. It's thrown around a lot today. And the guys, like you said, the guys do have a deep work ethic. And so we had to have more disciplined practices. We're goal oriented. So you couple that with us lifting each other up while holding each other accountable, you know, all these sorts of things. That's a powerful combination, right? Yeah. You've got to be honest with each other. You have to build that trust, and that trust was still there. We just built on it now. We're like, okay, it's time to really take that to the next level. And I should be able to speak to you in a manner that you understand and recognize that I'm not browbeating you. I'm not telling you you suck. I'm saying we need to work on these things. So something else, we're very process oriented, like I said. And so I talked about this on another interview. I can't remember what it was, but I started studying a couple of different things from sports psychology. Are you guys familiar with grip process? No. Okay. So grip. Okay. GRIP stands for goals, interpersonal relationships. I left out R, roles, right? So goals, roles, interpersonal relationships, and processes. So goals from an individual in a team perspective, right? For each practice, for each event, we've got to look at those. Roles. What are our strengths? What are they best suited for? How can we apply them against the layout, and how can we apply them against our opponents? Interpersonal relationships. Come on. That's a given. Everyone should understand that. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is key is I'm sure you both understand this one. You have to trust one another, right? There's got to be that trust. And if there's even the slightest doubt in one of the people you have on the field with you or that you're training with, well, it's got to be cold immediately. And we got to fix that. And finally, processes. It's basically training, but more importantly, you know, the consequences of those training, right? The game slows down the more we're prepared. So and that's what we tried to do. We really tried to prepare for this event in a way that I don't think people anticipated from the Canes. You know, we're known as kind of that slow, meticulous lock up counterpunch. And I said, no, we can't do that here on this layout. We've got to go. So, and I guess that brings me to one of the other things that we did, leadership. Stu Ridgel is the captain of the team, and I'm the coach, and we collaborate a lot. And this relationship is vitally important. Everyone on the team has input, but when Stu and I are on the same page, you get performances like Vegas. And so that's important. And I guess let's see, I got, we use words like accountable, honor, honesty, focus, discipline, all these words, we throw these words out. They have to mean something, right? It takes all of those things to remain relevant and competitive. So you have to take ownership of that. I'm sorry, I'm babbling. Go ahead.
No, bro. I just want to ask a question really quick. Stu, and I'm pretty sure it's him, unless there's another Stuart Ridgel. I can't imagine there would be, though, because this was a high paintball IQ individual. But it was like 10 years ago. He had reached out to me about a paintball book that he had written. That's him, right? That's the same.
That's him.
Okay,
that's
I thought
same
so.
Stu.
Yeah, and it makes sense.
You made his world when you complimented him on that book.
Yeah. So to me, that is it's very telling of your guys' brand and your style. You have a bunch of players that are true students of the game, right? And it makes sense. Stu is the captain now. And it's cool to see, like, 9 years later, to see how he's progressed, because when he had first approached me with that, I don't know, he's one a divisional player, and I remember looking at it and was like, this actually has some pretty decent content in it. So, I can relate to that. I can appreciate that. It's actually how I built a relationship with Steve Doherty, who is the PTG guy, and he plays on Wrecking Crew now, is from Paintball IQ, the book. He reached out, and, he was a divisional guy, but the way that he spoke about the game to me, I was like, hey, we can relate, like, you understand high level concepts. I don't know where you got it from, but whatever you've learned outside of paintball, you've brought to paintball, and you're understanding this, and it's really, really impressive. So yeah, just a small plug there. It's, kind of been a cool thing to see. And then, playing against you guys and seeing, I think it was last year, they did that documentary on you guys, which I thought was fantastic. It was like so entertaining, and seeing his personality. It was the first time that I ever, really heard him speak in person like that. Just a really bright individual and a good leader.
Stu's the man.
Yeah.
Stu is a great guy.
He's a lot like both of you. He's incredibly passionate. Like, and I think that's why it works the way it is, because I'm a little bit more reserved, which is crazy because I'm Sicilian, I'm Italian, right? So we're very passionate. But I've been studying. I read a lot, and I'm sure you guys know this, that I love Stoicism and Eastern philosophies and psychology, and I love that stuff. And so I try to keep things even keel, and I love the passion that Stu brings. So it's this great, balance. Sure. Mm-hmm. And he's such a, you're right. I've got some incredible guys. And that's the thing. I'm getting some credit, but understand that none of my decisions are made in a vacuum. They're just not. Yes, I will have the play. I'll have what I think statistically or gut wise, whatever you want, however you want to call it, what the opponent is doing, what their tendencies are, what I want to pull off on the next point and why I want to pull it. And then I sell it to the guys. You'll see that in the pit. I'll have my plan. I was like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. And I bring it to my guys, and then I get feedback from them. Now, a lot of times, and you guys know this, if a player comes to you and says, hey, I'm feeling this, coach. I saw this. I didn't feel any pressure. I really feel like I can do this. Then I'll back up. And I was like, all right, if you're feeling it and you believe it that much, you're that confident, let's go, brother. And then I'll build the play around what he wants to do. So, and I've got 10 guys that want to do that kind of thing. So,
yeah, Mike, I love that you bring that up. I've learned that, through coaching, and I haven't coached any pro teams yet, but I've done a lot of divisional coaching, and I imagine it's actually harder to trust the divisional players than it might be, some pro players, but I've found that it's still incredibly important, and both of those things that you just expressed. So one, I can remember distinctively last year in the Premier Division at WCPPL, which is really competitive. It's kind of like semi-pro, I remember Fit came out, they played, they struggled to win, and that was the best semi-pro team at the time. So it's a really competitive, group. And I remember we got to the finals, and I had this play in mind. They had kind of an old school X ball field, so it had the X in the middle with the pins, going off each way. Right. And I was like, guys, I want to come out swinging. I have a really creative play. We might lose the point really fast, but I need to know that you guys are in on it. If you guys like it, we'll do it. If you don't, we'll do something else. And I was sending one of our players to like their second pin, on their side of the field, which was like a terrible spot, really. But, it was so unexpected that it could work. They all looked at me and they're like, oh, we love it. Let's do it. I was like, all right, sweet. Sure enough, we did the play. Everyone bought in and it worked. Right. But if they would have been like, I don't know, we're playing good as a team right now, I think we could beat them just from team paintball. Then as a coach, I would say, you know what? Okay, let's do that, because the team feels better doing that. Right. And then, the second thing that you said, I was always open to players coming to me and saying, hey, I feel like I can make it wide. Just let me keep going wide. I'm like, hey, if you're feeling that, okay. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to rein you in, but I'm going to give you that opportunity, because I know that you're feeling it. You have a style that you want to play. You're confident. I don't want to interfere with that. That's not my job. My job is to help you play as good as possible and keep the team together. That's the role of a coach, in my opinion. So, I love to hear that from you, because there's a lot of coaches out there, and mostly it's divisional coaches that feel like it's their way or the highway. And they run this kind of ship where it's like, nope, I know the way. This is the play. If you do anything different, you're the reason we lost. okay, you might be making a play that is good for a style that your players aren't willing or wanting to play. And if that's the case, you're not going to get the most out of them. Like it needs to be curated towards the team and the players. So it's great to hear you say that, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah. No, and look, it's an ego trip for a lot of those coaches that are acting that way, right? Yeah. Well, it's my way or the highway, or this, that, and the other. And I get that. That works in some environments. I don't think that works. Well, it certainly doesn't work in mine. But I would add, I'm a history buff, and I'm a huge fan of guys like Julius Caesar. Right. And Julius Caesar would say stuff like, when he would talk about his centurions, the Roman centurions, he said, without training, my men would lack knowledge. And without knowledge, let's see what he say. Without knowledge, I think the next, my men would lack confidence. And without confidence, my men would lack victory. So we have to be that guide. We have to be that guide. That's what a coach, in my opinion, our job is to put people in positions to succeed. And so identifying that, like, looking at a player and understanding what his strengths and his weaknesses, his opportunities, all these different things are. So I was mentored by a guy called Paul Richards. And as far as I'm concerned, Paul Richards is the GOAT. Right. And Paul Richards he had this uncanny ability that he would take the weakest link on a team. And that's, I'm not trying to diss on anybody, but he'd take maybe the player doesn't have the greatest amount of strengths or capabilities, or the best communicator or gunfighter, whatever, but they would have something that they brought to the table. And that man would figure out how to leverage that player against a layout with the rest of the other components, the other 4 players. And it was just something to behold. And so I've tried so hard to live up to that and mimic it and recreate it. It's not an easy thing to do. Of course, I've got some incredibly talented people, so it's not hard to sit there and look at my guys and say, okay, you need to do this because you're really good at this, and we're going to leverage it this way. So when that layout, again, back to the layout, that layout came out, I remember looking at it going, oh boy, because I tried my darndest to try and lock it. I was like, how do I lock this down? How do I lock this down? And it literally after the first, because that's my process, right? I like to try and lock something down and then reverse engineer. Because if I know how to if I know how to control something, then now I know how to beat it. That's my next step. And once I know how to beat it, then I know how to effectively counter. And if I can effectively counter, then I can punch you in the mouth. So it sounds tough, but that's not really what I'm getting.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes out there.
As you're wearing the Zen shirt.
Hey,
right. Zen. That's right. There's stoicism.
Zen
and there's not
fish.
stoicism.
Zen the fish.
That's right.
Well, I do want to ask, how did you meet Paul? And how did that relationship start? He is without a doubt one of the greatest coaches of all time. I had the luxury of being able to know him and even played on Damage for a moment with him, and one of my favorite people, and will without a doubt go down in history as one of the best, and RIP to the legend.
Yeah. So that he basically took a zone offense from basketball and applied it to paint. I mean, it was just incredible what the man did. But and I'm not even a basketball fan. I know you guys are, but I'm not. But we ran into him. He became a fan. It was shortly after Damage. I think he had just left X Factor. Didn't he go to X Factor after Damage? And I think he had decided to leave X Factor, and he had met one of the players that I had coached by the name of Wes Ward. And Wes Ward was on a documentary when X Factor was looking to pick up players. And I believe Paul was interested, and he found out about the Prime program that I had started with Mike McGowan, who plays with the Ironmen right now.
Yeah.
And he was interested in it, and he came out, and he was so fascinated with the process we had created. We were very much a grassroots. He was like, hey, I want to coach you guys. I tell you, Tyler, he gave me one of the hardest lessons of my life, actually, because I was a starter on the team. And I remember his first time coaching us at Prime in Leeds, Alabama. Beautiful field, by the way. Comes out there and he says, okay, I want so-and-so and so-and-so. And he puts this line out and he runs this play against this team. And I wasn't out there. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right. He's giving some other people a chance. And then he did it again, and he did it again. Finally, after like 4 points, I haven't played yet. And I'm looking around going, uh-oh. Right. And then he finally says, okay, Michael, I want you to come here, do this, and then this. And so I go out there, I shoot like a guy on the break. I make this great move. And we close the game out, and I come back going, yeah. And he goes, all right, Bianca, have a seat. Okay. Now I'm worried. Another 3 points go by. Bianca, get out. Now I want you to do this. And he completely changes my role and has me do something. I'm like, well, all right, I got it. And I became the one. And I was like diving in the snake, crawling down there, do my thing. Anyway, long story short, this goes on. At the end of practice, I didn't see a lot of points. At the end of practice, I'm just kind of around. He's like, hey, Michael, can I ride with you to dinner? I'm like, yes, sir, of course. So he gets in the car. And of course, I must have had a look on my face, and he's just laughing. And he says, go ahead and ask me. And I said, I don't want to be that guy, coach. And he's like, just go ahead and ask me. I said, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Where do I need to improve? What do I need to do to get more playing time? He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, I already know what I get with you. I get a good communicator and a good gun on the break and highly aggressive. I don't need to see you. I need to see what these other guys can
Oh, wow.
do. Yes, sir. Roger that. Okay. Maybe lead with that next time, Paul. But it was one of the things, and that's not me tooting my own horn. That's just, he just had a way about things, very
That's so funny. That's like skinny Kevin. I swear there's been so many practices, and we've gotten to a place now in the last like year or so where we have much better communication. But like early on, like I would get like no feedback. I would literally message him after events and be like, hey, Skinny, like, what would you like me to do better from this? Blah, blah, blah. Crickets. And then finally he's like, I know what I'm going to get with you. You're fine. Like, maybe we could work on this, but like, you're good. We're trying to work on some other stuff here. And I'm like, okay, well, you could have told me that, like I wasn't sure if you were happy with me. I wasn't sure if we liked each other. It's like,
right.
it took a little bit to get there, and it's an interesting dynamic, but that has taught me to be the reverse with players that I coach. Like, I go out of my way to have this type of communication with players, so they're very clear on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, where they stand. I think that's important. Is that how you are with your team?
Oh, 100%. It's so key to have that capability, right? To put things into words that everyone on the team understands, right? I'm not going to talk to a Drew Bell the way I'm going to talk to an Air Pate, the way I'm going to talk to a Stu. But when we're talking about overall concepts, you've got to be able to communicate to everybody as a whole. Yeah. See, something that I find really important, and I'm kind of surprised I don't see it a lot in the divisional these days. And I'm hoping that's going to change. But we have to take ownership of our abilities. We have to push ourselves, right? So we have to take the time when we have together, when we're between those nets, right? We have to take it seriously. And on a side note, and I mean it when I say this, I'm more interested in my guys being successful outside the net and being good human beings than I am about the success on the field. And let me explain that. A lot of people will look at me strange when I say things like that. It's because I believe that if you're a successful human being outside the nets, that's going to translate. And that's going to translate to your success on the field. Because if you know what it takes to be successful and be a good person outside the net, then you know what it takes to be successful and a good person in the net. So, to your point, as we keep talking about a coaching perspective, we talk about putting them in positions to be successful. Our goal is to help them move the needle, right? Even if it's 0.001%, an increase is an increase. And that's where I think the Canes, personally, that's what we have to do in order to continue to be competitive. We have to evolve. We have to improve. We can't remain stagnant. We can't be happy with this, a second place. Whereas we've gotten a lot of accolades about that, right? And that's great. And yes, we should be proud of that. And we are. But ultimately the goal is to win. And if we can get just that much better, right? Get that much more consistent. If on a scale of 10, 1 to 10, and we're at a 6 right now, what happens if all my guys level up to a 7? That's going to be the difference. That's what I feel like, we've got to take away from this. And we've got to move the needle.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the amount of determination that you guys are all working with, and you can tell everybody is on the same page. And I was actually right there in the pits getting ready before you guys had that overtime one-on-one. So I got to watch that front row. everyone's linked up, everyone's charged. You can just feel the energy permeating off of everyone's auras, and that comes from, like you said, outside the net prep, mental, and all the work, the tenacity, and then boom, it fires off inside the net, and you see that start to shine in there as well. But that was a really cool moment. Kind of walk us through what it was like in that one-on-one. It actually went to the second one-on-one. There was two of them. So what was that like for you guys?
Well, like you said, it was electric. It's almost magnetic because no one asked us to. We all literally just, it was incredible. You saw it. It organically happened. We all just came together and put our arms around each other to watch it. And we just knew. We knew when Drew didn't win that first one, which technically he did, but woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Okay, so what happened
when Drew
there?
came off?
Yeah, what do you mean?
So Drew
technically did.
Okay, so if you go back and watch the replay, Drew does his first jump shot and he hits Callie on the leg. Plain as day, as Callie's moving across. Yeah, go check it. You'll see a big hit on his leg. Then Drew lands, and then Callie finishes his run, keeps rolling his gun. Drew jumps a second time, and that's when one of Callie's ball catches him, and the ref was already calling Callie. So. It was so
that's
bang.
Brutal.
It's so
yeah. But it's interesting because that poses a interesting thought about like penalties, because I don't think there are penalties in the one-on-ones. I mean, I guess there are if they catch you wiping or something, but like if it needs to be treated the exact same. If you have a hit and there's any extra movement and you're shooting, like as a ref, you have two players to watch. I feel that a ref needs to watch one player. The second that player is hit, you yell out like as loud as you can. So the other ref, if he's watching his player get hit, he'll know what was first. And if the player has any sort of moment, like if they're moving and shooting, that's, you lose. You lose. That's a penalty.
Well, I got to tell you, God bless the refs on this layout, right? God bless the refs in general.
Everyone,
I mean, it's not easy.
Every layout.
Woo. But here's the thing: it was bang bang. So I don't blame them on that. But it was interesting to go back and watch it in slow mo and go, oh, look at that. But I do remember.
Imagine if you guys didn't win the next one. That would just be a heartbreaker.
Well, sure. It certainly would have, but it's interesting. I do have a comment about that actually, right? This is something that I take a lot of heat for, but again, I read a lot of the Stoics, and there's a famous Stoic. His name is Epictetus, and he said that we should welcome events in whatever way they come to us. Now, the belief is that's the path to peace. In Latin, you would call it amore fati, which is love of fate. I prefer the darker version of that, which is the preferred motto, which is memento mori, which is Latin for remember your death. And in other words, you've got to live as if you're going to die tomorrow. And if that's the way things come, then that's the way things come, because we determine how we react to things. I don't let things that happen to me define me. And we wouldn't have let that define us at that point either. If Drew Bell had lost that one, yes, it would have been heartbreaking. But you know what? Who else was standing out there with Drew Bell, right? Drew Bell stepped up, went out there and did what he needed to do, put his team on his back. And I would have been proud of him no matter what, right? Because this is paintball, brother. You guys know it is, especially in Vegas, right? That's a crapshoot, baby. It's going either way when you've got two titans like Callie and Drew out there. So it would have been heartbreaking. But I remember looking at Daniel Camp, looking him in the eye right before that. And I'm telling him I remember going, look me in the eye. And he looked me in the eye. I said, breathe, just go have fun and do what you do. Nothing else exists, just this moment. And he went out there and he played it right. He just did it really well. And nothing to take away from Joe Barrett. Joe Barrett's a monster too. But I knew the minute Daniel went out there, we all came together. You said, Tyler, it was electric. It was magnetic. And we just came together. I knew he was going to win. I hadn't even picked my next shooter. I just knew. And that's the difference between belief and faith.
Who would your next shooter have been?
Stu Ridgel. Stuart Ridgel would have gone out. Stu would have gone out, you know. But
now, do you base that?
It's one of the things.
If you don't mind me asking, do you base that off of practice, the event, who's hot in that specific match? Do you have predetermined lineup of who your best one-on-one players are, or is it kind of, you know, mix of all of it? How do you determine that? That's a really tough thing for coaches, and there's a lot of coaches across the NXL that, you know, they get to that moment and they're like, I don't know who my guy is, who wants to play this one.
Right. No, that's a great question. And quite honestly, it is a mix. I mean, I do have a predetermined order. But like you said, you've got to take accountability for, hey, who's playing hot, who's landing that shot, right? And who's doing that. So there's a lot of different things. Who's played the most points right now? Who's the most familiar with the field right now? So yeah, all that plays in. But yeah, I already have my order determined. You know, and I was missing Aaron Pate at this one too. Aaron Pate's a monster gunfighter. So, you know, it is what it is. So,
the squad's hungry.
And if my cat's meowing, I apologize.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is Garfield back there? You got Garfield.
She's mad. She's mad because I came in here. I didn't realize she was asleep, and I woke her up, and here we are. And so,
well, you
like,
got to
bring
bring
her
on
on
the
the
show now.
like,
It's one of our favorite parts of PTG is getting everyone's animals on the show. So you got to bring the cat up here.
Well, I have a dog too, but the dog's not coming. He's too big. So hang on one second. Let's get that. All right, come here, you. Hey. Yeah, I know.
There it is.
This is Lady Sif.
Lady
Sif here is not happy. She's like, no, I want out. So we're gonna let Lady Sif out real quick.
Okay. And shout out, I can't wait to talk with him about Alabama paintball because Alabama paintball.
Yeah, I'm not really a cat guy, but I became one because of my kids.
Hey, that's how it goes.
That is how it goes out here.
All right. I want to talk
blessed.
to you about Alabama paintball and obviously how important that is to you. You've been cultivating a lot of successful players from the area. And what is Alabama paintball looking like right now?
Well, it's on the upturn. I'm glad to have an opportunity to talk about this. Alabama used to have a lot of active fields, and we actually had a very thriving tournament paintball in early and mid 2000s. And it just, it just took a big hit, like a lot of areas did. And of course, Alabama's not exactly one of the wealthier states, and so disposable income is not prevalent in the current economy. What's been amazing though, in this current economy, you would think that it's pulling back, and it's not. I think you're seeing, men wanting to get out there and do manly things again, and this is a great way to do it. And so, yes, Alabama paintball. I have a tendency. I like to, on weekends when my wife and children let me, I'll go in and just stop by local fields. I like to go to local fields and keep my finger on the pulse of talent in the area. And I like to walk out there and see players, and I can't help myself, right? I'll be out there and I'll see a player or a team and they're doing something. I'm just like, I got to talk to them. Come here. You made that decision 30 seconds too late. Here's what we should have done. Come here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Yeah. What can you see from here? Check this off. So this would have been the next process. Well, coach, I didn't know that. Why didn't you ask?
We need it's
simple things like that.
We need 1,000 of you across the country. You know what I mean? Like at every paintball field, because it's so important. Those moments, they really change players' lives.
I agree, Tyler. One of the things I think we can see, and I see a lot of pros doing this, and that is developing talent locally. It really is important, and it doesn't, and like you said, it's just that 5-minute conversation can change a guy's trajectory. And, just taking that time, and, it's important to me to make sure that because honestly, just between us, and I know no one's listening right now, I'm not used to a lot of this attention, and I don't do well with it, but it's been weird because a lot of people are now like, coach, sorry to bother you. What do you mean bother me, man? I'm out at a paintball field. You're not bothering me. I'm here because I want to see you play. I want to see what you guys are up to. I want to do it. I am nothing just because my team has seen some success and we're in a professional division. It doesn't change the dynamic, man. I'm just a human being. Let's freaking talk. What do you want to know? Let's go. And
Love that.
so, and I think that's why it wasn't too difficult for Ryan Gray and Marcel, and Maddie Marshall to trick me into doing the coaches show.
Which, thank you, by the way.
Now that,
really, thank you. It is such an incredible program, and so good for paintball, and so good for Major League Paintball, because it's on their YouTube channel. You guys are doing them a hell of a service, but it's to me, it's really, really important, and you guys have amazing content. I listen to almost every episode. I haven't listened to all of them. I'm at like 90%.
Well, listen, I understand. Listen, when we first started, we didn't have any content to really work with. And so we were kind of doing this interview style with other coaches, which was great because it's given me an opportunity to talk to people like you, Marcelo. We got to get you on there, Tyler. We had Ryan on, right? Had Kevin on. And I enjoyed that because I'm one of those guys that likes to sit back and listen. And because like you said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we talk.
I have bad hearing though. I've learned this recently. I have like really bad hearing. So I don't know if that's a sign I'm supposed to be taught. I don't know, but my hearing's not very good. It's crazy.
Is that why you're always yelling on the field? So people
I think so. One, I can't even hear myself, 2, I can't hear anybody else. So I'm like, I'm just going to keep flooding the airwaves.
I got nervous at first. I was like, this isn't really what we wanted to do. And not to take anything away, I was loving the conversations that I was having with these coaches. I was learning so much, but we really didn't have anything to analyze. I had this idea, we're going to be Madden. We're going to sit there and be drawing things. And like, yes. And this guy was thinking this because this guy had this angle and do all that and really break the games down. This is probably what he's thinking. This is why Skinny Kevin made this call. This is why Ryan Smith made this call. This is why he pushed Tyler into this 2 spot. That's the kind of stuff I really want to do. And we're finally getting a chance to do it. And I'm a big nerd when it comes to that stuff. So I'm stoked.
Mike, why not go back and do games from last season too? Like that type of, Tyler and I both have been talking about this ad nauseum. And shout out to Steven. He's been doing the telestrator work for Go Sports. He has the SVP paintball stuff. That is incredible. I've been like yelling in Maddie's ear. We need like true analysts. That is what they do. They break down games, they break down matches and big moments. We go to a tournament and a player has a big event. And if you're watching on the live stream or you're there in person, you experience it. It's epic. You love it. There might be a few Instagram reels about it afterwards, but it's forgotten forever. If I watch basketball, the NFL, any playoff NFL game and a big pass, big completion, it's on all the sporting networks and you have top analysts breaking down exactly what you're just talking about. Well, here's what happened. Here's where the defense broke down. This is why this player decided to cut right. It was actually, he saw that left foot, angle outward, knew he had the space, made this move, caught the ball, and that is what engages fans, that really high level thinking, those really high level conversations, because now your average fan, they feel like they understand the game at a high level. And if they feel like they understand the game at a high level, now they're quote unquote experts. They want to keep watching. They want to be able to talk to their friends about it. They want to show off like the knowledge they have. Yep. That's what we need. We need more of that. I think it's like, and Tyler and I, we've kind of talked about it, but it's not, I don't feel it's our place to do that as players right now, one day for sure, but like analysts, and it can come from a coaching perspective. I think there's a little bit of a separation there, oh my God, I hope you guys do go back the last couple years. There's been some amazing matches and just break them down. That content's pretty evergreen. We have pretty much the same field kit, there's like so much content you guys could be doing on the coaches show. Not to put all that on your plate, 100%. But if you really care about paintball and you want it to grow, this is the way.
Yeah, I caught that subtle Marcelo, but no, and you make an excellent point, and we did discuss that at one time. We're like, okay, well, what's a point that we could make? Like, if there was a specific thing we wanted to showcase, how would we do it? Oh, here's a great match, and I think we're going to do that with a Russian Legion match coming up here soon. One thing I did enjoy, which I wasn't anticipating, it was so funny. We were talking about, okay, the next show after the event, we're going to have the the winning coach on, or maybe the second place coach on, or maybe both. Next thing I know, I'm oh,
There
well,
he is.
crap, I'm one of the winning, I'm the coach. So, Ryan got to play moderator. And it's funny, you'll notice, because I'd only gotten in about an hour and a half before we did that. I had just gotten back from Vegas. And you'll notice the first thing I do is rub my eyes because I haven't eaten, and I was just like, okay. And then Skinny and I had this great back and forth about what we were thinking in the finals match.
Yeah, I got to watch that.
I enjoyed it. But it could have been a little bit more detailed, right?
Agreed.
We could have really gone really into it, but I
think
both of us were a little guarded,
Yeah, and that's a funny thing, and I don't know, Tyler and I, we talk about this all the time, but I know I try not to be super guarded on the show. It's hard. You have to put this other hat on, and
right.
What I've learned is you can give away all the secrets. People still have to execute it. I feel like we've talked ad nauseum about, I have what I believe in regards to, field philosophy, paintball IQ, paintball logic, and really talk about it every week, and at the end of the day, players still have to be able to execute it on the field. And actually, I look at it as like, okay, there's an advantage because I know what I've talked about. So if people are listening and they want to use that against me, well, I feel like I still have the advantage there. You could be one step ahead of that. That gets a little deep down the rabbit hole, but it's the reality, and we're in a weird spot too. It's like, I want to compete at the highest level. We want to do and give our teams every chance to win, but we're all also kind of in this like sweet spot of paintball where we're all really trying to help the sport grow and read. And honestly, I think that would be probably a bigger win for all of us when it's all said and done. If we were, if we contribute to that, rather than wins on the field. I mean, we want the wins. I understand. It's what we make a lot of the sacrifices for. But at the end of the day, if the stuff that we're doing in regards to media, promotions, content really helps the game reach a level that's respectable by the masses, then I think that would be a bigger accomplishment than anything. So, there's a fine line, but I agree. You guys are both being a little reserved. That's also kind of how Skinny is. You ask him a question and you're going to get a one-word answer. He's just so like this. He's just so like that, Oh yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
It was funny. I remember saying to him, I was like, I watched Dynasty. I figured you guys were doing a read offense, right? You wanted to get your 5 guns out alive, right? And then you would pay attention to where the push was, and then you'd counter. And I was like, I was just not going to give you an opportunity to counter. I was going to create that pressure from the get-go and make you fight me on this front. All right? I was going to take the choice out of your hands. And that was my approach. And I remember when Ryan turned around and asked Skinny, he's like, so what were you thinking at this point? And he's like, well, I wasn't going to change anything. We had to shoot people on the break. And I'm like, I know you were doing, and it was funny because, and then that's what happened, right? Your guys' guns got hot.
Yeah.
And, it's funny. I took a lot of heat online. People are like, why did they step off the gas? Why did they go defensive? I'm like,
step off the gas.
You didn't go defensive. You guys,
you're not watching the game. Then
thank you, Marcella.
Yeah.
Right. If you're not watching the same game and you don't know how to play the field, if that's what your thought was, because that's not 100%. What happened. What happened was Dynasty started picking on our offense
100%
and got good at it. And
100%.
So
the first 2 points, the first point you guys shoot Archie going to that interior spot. You shoot Ryan filling out. It's 3 on 5. You also make the snake. Second point, you run the snake again. You make it. You also shot Arturo on the break on that one, I think. So again, 45, we're playing down 1. Third point, you guys shoot Arturo, but I think we shot someone. I think we
give
shot
you
the
one
snake
back.
player.
Yeah.
So it's 44 there. But you attacked the Dorito side. You switched that third point.
Gave you the snake and
and that was the thing is like, we were then like so focused on the snake side, and then boom, you hit us down the Dorito side. You win that point. And it wasn't until the 4th point was the first point that we played 54. We got a kill off the break. We shot the snake runner and we played 54. And that's our game, right? That's where we're really comfortable. I mean, that's when any team's feeling a little comfortable, right? If you could have the body advantage, it's huge.
Of course.
But outside of that, you guys kept attacking. You guys kept attacking the entire time. You guys had a well-balanced offense. You ran to both corners probably more than any team on Sunday in that match. Like if you look at any other team in their matches, in the finals match, I would say you guys ran to one of the corners or the snake, like one of the tape spots, more than any other team at all on Sunday.
Almost every point. Yeah. And the thought was, okay, I just gave you 3 looks at the snake. You're going to shoot short for him. You're going to dedicate at least 2 to 3 guns on him, maybe 2.
Yeah.
All right. So you're going to shoot short. I'm going to take this counter and then I'm going to feed underneath it when it draws the gun up. And so we drew the gun up. You went deep. We fed underneath it. So like you said, I wanted y'all to play catch up. I wanted you to react to us. And unfortunately, you started getting the guns on him like, Dad nabbit. So, you know, it's funny. I talk about this a lot, the defensive mentality in paintball, right? And it boils down to one simple concept, and that's minimizing risk. That's essentially what Dynasty was doing, right? You're minimizing risk. I quote Bruce Lee all the time because Bruce Lee's one of my heroes. And if you've never read Tao the Jeet Kune Do, you need to read it. It's fantastic. So I try to apply his philosophy a lot. And a lot of people know this, but Jeet Kune Do, or way of the intercepting fist, the basic principle is this: in order to hurt me, you have to move to me, which offers me an opportunity to intercept you. So in paintball, if we minimize our risk and our opponent risks just a bit, we're offered the opportunity to intercept them, right? And if we're successful, we should have a body advantage or position. And once we do, we can offensively counter. Now that's how we normally play. But I couldn't play that field this way, and I certainly couldn't do it against Dynasty. So I became the slugger at that point. I was like, here comes the overhand right. Here comes the overhand right. Oh, here's, you know, so that's just kind of where it was. And then I said, okay, now we're going to throw some footwork in here. And that wasn't stepping off the gas. It was just, let's rope-a-dope. And the rope-a-dope, you caught us. You just caught us. That happens.
No, you beat us in that point. And that was the third point.
Oh, no, I know.
On the Dorito side.
Yes, sir. No, I'm aware of that. I'm just saying, but you like, and then we turned around and then you put 2 on us.
Yeah, but the second one, if I were you guys, I would look at that. Was it the fifth point? 3-1. Yeah, the 5th point. That would be the one I would want back because you guys shoot Arturo off the break. You make the snake corner. You have position. We're really in a bad spot. You know, we're loaded up on our snakes, our right-handed snake side. Alex is isolated on that Dorito side in that temple. You had the snake corner and another body over there. Maybe that's where people are feeling like you let off the gas. Like ideally somebody should have gotten the snake there. If somebody gets in the snake on that side of the field and it was just my gun they had to go through, you know, that changes that whole point right there. And then, you know, 4-1 versus 3-2, totally different ball game, obviously, as you know.
That's right. And listen, that the exact point you're talking about was a point of heavy discussion on our Zoom call, because I can tell you exactly what happened. We had not 1, but 2 players just look into a ball, and they didn't have to. There was absolutely no reason why they should have even been checking off that way. And it was one of those things because we had already positioned it. And you're right, we should have been in the snake. And that was a major discussion. Why are we not here? Why did this not happen? And there you could sit there and psychoanalyze it significantly, right?
Of course.
You know, so
the snake corner one, I hope you don't put the snake corner. I mean, it was like such almost a lucky read from me, you know. Alex was like, I can't go wide. I'm going to go up the center. And as soon as he went up the center, I saw the snake corner start looking for him. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to try to shoot Alex. Like, this is my chance, you know, to shoot him. But I don't think he was like looking for the wrong thing. You know, it was like, to me, it was one of those things go ahead.
But we're protected against Alex's counter.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to look for that.
That's true.
So, listen, I'm a harsh taskmaster. I'm going to hold him to a standard. You know,
I can appreciate it. Yeah.
If Marcelo is advocating for you, I don't want to argue with Marcelo Margot, but at the same time, I
hear you. Yeah, because like, what are you going to do? Like, you wrap there. If you get the kill, cool. But if you don't, it's not that big of a deal because he's still inside. He's not getting wide on you. You still have the advantage,
right?
You know, so it's kind of risk versus reward there.
There it is.
Yeah,
and that's what this
you're absolutely
was.
right. Yeah.
That's
Certainly.
what this field
Certainly.
was. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. Professional paintball is such a crucible, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to have a chance to compete, you better be training. You better be doing everything you can. And you guys know good training fills the gap of knowledge. So
Look
how
at-
else can teams compete against Dynasty and Heat? Well,
Look at Aftermath.
that training. Well, yeah. That's
They play
they're
every
playing
single
paintball
weekend together.
all the time.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So,
Mhm.
I just think you got to have that confidence, and I felt we had it, right? Because I think confidence, if you have that confidence eventually paves the way to victory eventually, because without confidence, without belief, or, we talked about it, faith, success is just going to be a distant dream. And more people need to embrace the suck, as we call it.
Yeah.
Okay. Embrace the hard. Hard times create hard men. Soft times create soft men. You've heard it all before. You got to want difficulty, and you got to want to endure and grow from it. And more teams need to recognize what is in front of them. And we call it a grind for a reason, guys. And I think this second place has done nothing but given us an opportunity to grow, to learn, to face that adversity and say, okay, we weren't worthy yet. What do we got to do different now? You guys know this. Winning starts before the event.
Absolutely.
It starts with the hard work and the determination you put in. I've heard you say this 100 times, Tyler. I've heard you say this 100 times, Marcelo, right? I think that's what we mean when we talk about winning is habitual. You have to create, live, breathe good habits that ultimately lead to success. And without that foundation, I don't think it ever comes. So, this is a controversial thing. I said this on another interview. To me, excellence isn't winning or perfection. To me, it's the constant pursuit of it. Excellence is pushing yourself and finding the limit, and then seeing how far you can go beyond. You being excellent, your best version of yourself, that's controllable, because success isn't, unless you constantly strive to be your best self. I know I'm starting to get all philosophical and weird like that. I'm weird like that, guys. I'm a nerd.
That's why everybody loves you, Mike. Again, I told you this on the coaches show, and I'm going to tell you again. The only thing I ask is that you stop apologizing for your awesomeness, because you go on these rants, and I think I don't think you realize that majority of the people, they want to hear you talk more and more and more. So myself included. So any rant you want to go on, go ahead. I might raise my finger to just interject and try to add a piece, but trust me, all good, brother. That's why we have you here.
I absolutely loved what you said as well, Mike, about the game slowing down. The more you prepare and the harder that you work, and the more of those moments that you see, and the repetition and the grind and the suck and the tireless, aches and pains of going at it again and again and again and failing and then getting some progress. But that's what it's all about, is that process. That journey is so fulfilling. And I also agree with you. If you aren't doing those things, it makes it tremendously difficult to attain that highest level, no matter what. If it's in business, paintball, what you name it, and it's going to take that amount of effort. So I'm with Marcelo on this one. Thank you, man. Thank you for tirelessly helping people to remember how amazing they are, and how they can do it too if they apply themselves in the correct ways.
Yeah, you guys are too kind. Thank you very much. But
dude, no.
I said this to my guys after we lost. It isn't mine, by the way. It was a quote I heard somewhere, and it just stuck with me, and it stuck with me forever. And that is, winning doesn't care about you. It doesn't care if you're hurt. It doesn't care if you're tired. It doesn't care if there was a bad call, right? Winning is something that requires you to give every ounce of yourself and promises nothing in return. So why would we chase it? Why would we chase something like that? Why would we chase something that takes everything and doesn't have anything, or has to give anything back? And I'll tell you why. Because the only guarantee you have is if you don't chase it, you're going to lose. And my guys aren't losers, and I will never let them be. And so after that match, I remember looking around and saying that to them and saying, I don't see any losers here, right? I just see guys who have learned another way to improve. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's the thing. Comfort's the worst addiction, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Being comfortable all the time. That's where dreams go to die. So my guys recognize that. And to be that close and to go back, watch tape, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable watching that loss. And that's good. As Jocko Willink would say, good. Right? So what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do to get to that opportunity again? And when you're there, what are you going to do when given another shot? It's something to think about, boys. You're going to get the opportunity. And when it's there, you got to grab it with both hands. You can't let go.
Mike, I want to talk to you about your philosophy and how you've approached. If anyone's seen the documentary or any content around you guys, you've been very realistic from coming into the league. You know, some teams, they come into the league and they say, no, I believe we can win an event this year. Why would we not believe that? Like, if you don't believe that, then you're not going to achieve that. You had a much different approach. Maybe not quite that you didn't believe you could, but your approach with the team was very much so. Goal number 1, make Sunday. Let's make Sunday. Goal number 2, I might be butchering this a little bit, but it's like get to a semifinals. You know, you laid out these strategic goals that are not only achievable, but to me, I think it does something really powerful to the players. It kind of relieves some pressure. It really, you know, sets the tone for the process and makes them understand, like, okay, you know, it's a learning process. We're in this together. It's going to take some time. And then when you achieve that first goal, it's like, oh, we achieved that goal. Well, why can't we achieve the next goal? You know, the next goal is semifinals. You achieve that. It's like, why can't we get to the finals? We keep setting these goals and we're knocking them down, and the goals are realistic. So you knock them down and then you get to the finals. You know, now I imagine your only goal now is to win an event. You've done everything else, but explain that thought process to me and why you took that approach with your team rather than no, we can win. We can win now.
Yeah. So you're absolutely right. It's a psychological approach. It's establishing a mentality, and it is part of the culture, right? It's establishing a mentality of letting your guys, I call it small wins. And it's something I do in my clinics. A lot of times when I'm coaching a D4 or D5 team, right? I'll have a large target out there and I'll only get them 20 feet from it. It's like, look, I want you to walk this straight line and shoot that pipe in and not miss. Right. So, and they're like, hey, I did that. I'm like, right, now let's jog. And they do that. And then you're okay, now let's run. And they're saying, I was like, wow, you're at 60% running and hitting that. That's fantastic. And so you're building them up and you're showing them that they can do something. And then you turn around, you take that target away and you put a much smaller target. Do it again. Same process. I want you to walk. I want you to jog. And they start hitting the target and they're like, because they first see that smaller target and they go, I can't do that. Yes, right. You can.
Right.
And so the concept was this, by the way, I set these goals and the goal was, let's win a point.
Okay.
When we first came to the professional division, I said, let's win a point. That's our first step. Let's win a point.
Humble.
The second step was, let's win 2 points back to back. If we can do that. And then once we did that, it was easy to say, okay, if we can score 2 points back to back, why can't we win a match? That's number 3. Let's win a match. And then we won a match. And then I remember the fourth one was a little bit maybe ego driven, but it was a safety net. And that was, let's not get last. So let's win a point. Let's win 2 points. Let's win a match. Let's not get last. Because gentlemen, when we first came to the pro, it was all about managing expectations. That's what you've got to do with your team. You have to manage those expectations. And I told my guys, hey, we're stepping into the professional paintball league. And we're going to get a lot of hate. We're going to get a lot of hate because even though we earned our way up here, we won our spot. We never won an event. We won World Cup during the COVID year, right? And then we came in, we were the top 4. We were the only top 4 team, semi-pro team and won the division. We were the only team that were in the top 4 every event, but we never won an event. And so we took a lot of heat. They never won an event. They're going to get crushed, this, that, and the other. And I said, I don't care about the noise. That's noise. I care about us. Let's win 1 point. It's 1 point at a time, win 1 point. And I said, holy crap, we won that point. Well, why can't we win 2, boys? Let's go. Let's go win 2 points. And then once we won those 2 points, it's like, there's no stopping now. We're going to win this match. And I'll never forget, we beat Uprising 6-0 in our debut. And I went, well, crap, what do I do now? Because we've met all our goals in the first match. So I decided right then and there, nope, not changing it. It doesn't change. Those goals stay the same every event. We got to stay humble. We got to stay composed, disciplined. This is the goal. And then to make Sunday our second event, I was like, wow, my guys have really bought into this and they're really firing on all this. And once then, it was one of those things where it's just recognizing what we can do. And so when we got to World Cup, I remember, so last year we made quarters every event until World Cup. We get to quarters and we just keep losing in those quarters. And I remember thinking to myself coming to Cup, and then of course we had the disastrous Cup. And so we had that realignment, right? That revisit to the structure, that revisit to the process. Hey guys, let's get back to basics. And it was like, hey, let's remember what Hurricane Paintball is. Hurricane Paintball is team paintball. We have to be firing on all cylinders. We have to communicate. We have to trust each other. We have to understand and execute the game plan. And jobs have to shift. And this is what we have to do. And this, that, and the other. And if A, then B, and blah, blah, blah. And it just became that. And it got to the point, Marcelo, and Tyler, where if you can steer your guys, right? If you can get them those small wins, well, why not us? Mm-hmm. We met these goals. Okay, well, we met that goal. We've met all the goals. So why not us?
Meet the next
and
one.
Once you get your guys to understand that and realize it and face it, I told them, I said, I don't care who's standing in front of us. And no offense to Dynasty. I said, I don't care. It's 5 more guys with paintball guns. I don't care if it was the United States Marine Corps. We're going to whoop their ass, right? You have to believe that. You have to believe that we're standing here at this moment right now because we deserve to be here. You earned your right to be here, right? Winning doesn't care about you. So step up. And that's where it came from. That was the basis for it. And now we do have new goals. We're revisiting the goals actually for the season. And you'd be
mind sharing?
Some. There's a lot.
Do you mind sharing what the goals are?
Obviously, one of them is to win an event. If we find ourselves back in that situation, we're going to win that event. I don't know how yet, but we're going to do it. And we're going to do it as a team, right? And the other goals, obviously, we want to make Sunday every event. I want to stay, and we want to stay in the top 4. Mm-hmm. Our goal. So here's a funny thing. I'll share this with you. The first season in pro, literally our goal was, let's make the top 15. Let's not be in the bottom 5. Now, I set a personal goal as a coach, and I never shared this. I didn't share this with the guys until later, but I had set a goal of top 10 because I knew we had the capability to do it. I didn't know when it was going to come to fruition. That Sunday came sooner than I thought. It came in what was called a minor at the time. So, but then we turned around and I think Philly was next and we were right there. And then we made Sunday in Chicago. And I went, we can do this. We can be top 10. So I thought it after Dallas, actually, Lone Star. So I was like, I had set a personal goal for top 10. We got 11th because we had that terrible World Cup again. And that was frustrating to miss it by 1,
Yeah.
And then I remember the next season, I told myself next season, I said, okay, no, I know what we can do. We're going to be top 8. And we came out and made quarters every event, and heading into World Cup, we were 6th. I was like, we got this, baby. It's in the bag. We're going to hit that goal. Then World Cup, and we were 9th. To miss it by 1, it's just infuriating. So I figured if Mike, I set the goal for first, we might end up in the top 4.
That's fair. That's logical thinking. The maths right there. Right. Mike, I was going to ask you about that because if you look back at the previous 2 seasons, it's the World Cup was, I think, your worst performance in both of those seasons. Maybe you had one worse in the previous one, but it was one of the worst ones. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Do you think it's a pressure thing on the players, or what about World Cup has kind of set that stage where the team has underperformed?
I'm going to get in trouble. So I'll just go ahead and if you're going to get in trouble talking about paintball, might as well do it on the PTG show. So
there we go. There we go.
I'm going to get in trouble. here's my theory on World Cup. It's not pressure. It wasn't pressure for the guys. I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
I like to think I feel pretty good about my guys. And a lot of people said that my guys folded in pressure because it was our first trip to the finals and we're playing Dynasty. I'm like, first of all, it's not our first trip to the finals. It's our first trip to the professional finals. We've been to finals before. So that, I don't think that was it. It's Dynasty. Well, hell, if you ever want to win, you're going to be facing teams like Dynasty, Heat, Damage. You know, it's not like we haven't played Dynasty before. It's not like we haven't played great teams like Heat and Damage and all these other great teams before. It's just another match. So I don't think that was part of it either. Here's my theory. We were in vacation mode. We got down there. We had made quarters. We looked at our draw, you know, and here's the thing. You look at your draw. Anytime we look at our draw, I don't look past anybody. Matter of fact, I play everybody like they're Dynasty. And I really do. I want to not just outsmart you on the clipboard. I want my guys to outplay you. But I want my guys, I want their game to speak for them. None of my guys will ever do this. There's a strict code on my team, and you will let your game speak for you. You will not do any of this crap. I don't believe it. It's stupid.
For everyone listening, no talking. He's got the hand up, chirping. No
That's
loud
right.
I mean, that's why all the pro teams respect you guys. Like people, you know, it's funny. There's a famous clip of Alex a few years ago at World Cup saying, you know, even the other team is rooting for us. I don't know if you guys have seen that. Right.
I actually have. I've studied.
When we were playing you guys in the finals and when we were playing you guys in the finals, we were down 3-0 and it was funny. I had this thought. I was like, obviously I still want to win. I still believed we could win, but I was like, at least it's these guys. I felt that way.
No kidding. No kidding.
Because I'm a fan of you guys. Truly. Like, what a great story. You know, that thought was like, you know, and then, you know, you eliminate that thought really quick, you know, and you go back and you're trying to compete, you're trying to get the win. But that thought was certainly there about you guys. And I've never felt that towards any other organization that we're playing in the finals. There's something compelling about your guys' entire story. You as a coach doing it with, you know, homegrown talent that is really just a group of guys that have stuck together. You brought in one player, Nick Ripple, from, you know, another team really. But you have no like US superstars, and you guys have been able to make a run in Vegas to get all the way to the finals and go through the teams you guys did. I mean, how can you not root for that as a paintball fan? I don't understand how you can't. And there was a moment in that match, and it was, you know, we were down 3-0, and I remember like kind of chuckling. I'm like, you know, like if it's them, all right. Like, you know, I'm not too mad about it. God bless. You know what I mean?
That's fantastic. I actually said that after to myself. I said, well, we lost to one of the best, you know, arguably the best, greatest team in paintball history. So I'm not too upset about that. But no, I appreciate that. But that's why you're a champion, right? Because it was a thought for a second, and then it was gone, and then we got to work, right? So that's what it comes down to, right? It's that mental fortitude, and a lot of people don't think about that aspect. But back to, you know, I felt like we were in vacation mode. We were there, and it was wonderful to have everybody's family. We had parents, we had children, we had wives, we had girls, all under one roof.
Oh,
and I think maybe, and so every pro team I know has a rule: no girls or no family, no wives, you know, until Sunday, right?
Well, how about this, Mike?
And
how about this? My girlfriend came out. She was so excited. She's been the biggest supporter of mine in the last 4 or 5 years. Watches every single game. It doesn't matter if I'm in Australia. She wakes up in the middle of the night. She watches on Go Sports. She wanted to come to World Cup. I said, you're getting your own ticket. You're getting your own hotel, and I'll see you Sunday night. Like, I'll get you wristbands. You know, you're not staying with me. I'll like try to say hi to you at the event, you know, but that's it. Like, you're not coming to dinners. You're not I'm there for work. I'm there with the team. This is what we're going to do, you know? And she was all in on it, you know, and I totally get it. I just want to be there and support and watch. And then Sunday night you get to celebrate, but
that's right.
There is absolutely, it's an interference otherwise.
Yeah. You know, first of all, none of my guys, everyone knows this about us, right? None of my guys are paid to be there. They're all coming out of their own pocket to be there. I'm coming out of my own pocket to be there. So I have no authority to sit there and tell a grown man that you can't bring your wife, right?
I
You
know.
a guy
yeah.
who's spending his own money, right? But
true.
and don't get me wrong, I'm
It's
not
true.
saying it was the wives. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, to your point, it is a distraction. Like, I'm not 100% completely focused on why I'm there, because I'm like, okay, I'm playing a game. Oh, look at my beautiful wife. Oh, look at my lovely son. Look, oh, my parents are here enjoying this. Oh, we're in Florida. What are we having for dinner tonight? So there are those things. And I think that played a small part in it. I also think there was some aspects outside that I probably won't share that, that distracted us from what was happening. Because my God, here's the other thing. We've never gotten that many penalties at an event. I'm proud of my guys and how clean they play. And we were just getting smashed with penalties.
Were they deserved?
And I'm
or
like,
do you think,
wow.
or did you feel they weren't?
I mean, no, they're your standard, hopper hit off the stealth bomber virtue. No one feels those. Diving in and catching a pack hit, and before you've even gotten out of your dive, the ref's throwing the flag. And again, they have a tough job, and they were setting the pace. And I think that's what refs need to do, right? If you're going to do that in the morning, you better be doing that in the afternoon.
Agreed.
And but it just, I think between the vacation mode, the penalties, and we were just kind of discombobulated. And we all had a lot going on. And it's just one of those things where you're like, wow, okay. Well, that was a lesson that we won't soon forget, because Skinny won't let me forget it. I mean, he keeps telling me that I got 28th out of 20 teams. And I'm like, but there was only 20 teams. He's like, yeah, but you got 28th. And I love that, because it just,
I think there was 24. I think
No,
there was 24, right?
But there was,
somehow you got 28.
The numbers are going to change. Like, next time I talk to him, he's like, you got 32nd out of 19 teams. And I don't know how you did that, so, and that's a gentleman I'm really enjoying getting to know, by the way. He's a great
Skinny's the man.
He's fantastic.
He has become one of my favorite coaches of all time. Like I said, our relationship took a while to really grow to where it is now, but I have so much respect for him and how he, he's really unique in how he builds relationships with all the players on the team. And he does it individually in a special way. And it's a little bit different with each person. And that goes a long way. That's something that's really important. 100%. So the players respect them. The players care about them, as a person. Like you said, right. You want your players to be great off the field. It's kind of the same thing with Skinny. It's like, we love them outside of paintball, whether you're our coach or not. We just love the human. So it makes it easy to follow. I do want to kind of touch back though on what we were talking about with having family at the event and stuff. I get it. Like, World Cup is so difficult, but maybe it wasn't a distraction. But the worst part is, if you don't succeed and those variables are there, it becomes an excuse. And then it gets in the way of learning as well, right? That's a tough part. And like, World Cup is already so difficult to stay focused, because there is so much going on without all of, having your family there. And there's so much going on with how many people are there. They want to come up to you and, talk to you. You got to make time for people. You have signings. It's a big production. People you haven't seen in years. It's great. I love it. I'm not complaining, but it's its own challenge. And it's actually, I wrote an article for Great American Paintball. It'll be out in actually the second magazine, but it reflects on that, because there's a weird space you have to get into at World Cup that's different than any other tournament. And I imagine it's like 2% of what, professional athletes have to do on a regular basis.
Right.
But the difference is, like, an NBA player, they have a private entrance to their game. Like, it's mostly private. NFL players, mostly private. It's not like that. We're there with everybody. We're paintball players. It just is what it is. It's actually part of what I really enjoy about the game, but it comes with the reality that you're going to get from the time you're at your car to the time you get to the pit. You have to allot some extra time, because you're going to get stopped quite a bit. And that can distract you from, like, if you're thinking about game plans and you're thinking about your job and your role and what you're supposed to do, and if this, then that, and then come Sunday, the stands are packed. Even Saturday, stands are packed. It's a full house. There's a lot of distraction. There's a lot of things that will be pulling energy from you in different directions. Right. And you have to go into the weekend with a very, very specific mindset.
Yeah, Yeah. There's 4 things. My brain works like this. So bear with me, gentlemen. There's 4 things that I got out of what you and there's 4 things I want to touch on. So there's like
Nice.
boom, 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 boom. One, I feel like the family thing, one of the issues might have been, and this is just a theory. I don't fully believe it. I haven't fully prescribed to it yet, but it's almost like when we had that first bad match and you've got your family there, they're like, it's okay. It's okay. You're going to be fine. No, it's not okay. This is not okay. And as the Italian, right, who has the big family, I'm like, no, we're not okay right now, guys.
We're yelling at the dinner table right now.
That's right. I'm like, someone's getting stabbed with a fork. Okay. And nope, no violence. Anyway, but I thought that might have been part of it. But you make an excellent point, right? It becomes an excuse. Second point, you made the comment about all those distractions. I want to share a story with you, and it's very near and dear to me, and I've gotten used to sharing it since World Cup. I remember we had just, we went 1-3. By the way, we should have been 0-4. We should have lost to the Russians. If you go back and watch the tape, we should have lost that match. The Russians made a mistake, and we didn't capitalize, and well, we did by accident, and we ended up winning the point, and they ended up getting some penalties too. So anyway, I was not in a very good mood. And I remember sitting there, and we were about to play our last match. And I'm thinking, well, we got to salvage this for pride now, because we're not going on. It doesn't matter what happens. Our margin's trash. And I'm walking. So I'm scouting. I'm doing this stuff. And I'm walking down, and a guy walks up, and he goes, Zen, coach. And I'm like, hey, how are you? He's like, oh man, hey, big fan. Listen, can I ask you a question? I said, sure. And I wasn't in the mood, right? I'm in a bad mood. I just finished scouting. We're not in a good place. I got to go get ready for this match. But something told me, and Tyler, you may appreciate this, but something told me, said, talk to this man. And so I said, yeah, what's your question? He asked me some questions, and I answered, and I took the time to talk to him, and I answered. I must have spent 7-8 minutes with him, just talking, just letting him talk. And he's excited, this, that, and the other. And I said, well, hey, when you get back home, let me know you got back home, and hey, hit me up on Zen and the Art of Paintball and this, that, and the other. You got any questions, blah, blah, blah. Turns out this man was a veteran. And he had decided he was going to go to World Cup for one last hurrah, and he was going to end it. And he ends up sending me a message, and he says, Coach, I just wanted you to know, when you took that time to talk to me, it made me realize that people do care.
Yeah. Jeez.
And he goes, and I just want you to thank you for that. And we still talk to this day, and all the time. And he's a wonderful human being. And I realized right then, wow, I said, I will always take the time to talk to somebody who wants to talk to you. And I just remember thinking, when I was walking away from him, I didn't think I had an impact like that. And my God, man, it's powerful. And I remember when I read that, I got down and I prayed, and I said, thank you, God, for putting that man in my life. And thank you for helping me, teaching me an important lesson. And so, that's tough. That's scary, because God bless him, love him to death. And not going to give his name because that's no one's business. But, that's something that happened at World. That's the memory I take from World Cup, right? Hey, God, when your time, when the Hurricanes' time, we're going to slap you around a little bit, give you a little bit of humble pie. And by the way, thanks for talking to this guy. He needed you. So that's my takeaway from World Cup. And finally, let's see, was that 2? Yeah, that was 2. Yep. The third thing I wanted to hop back on was with Tyler. We were all talking about how the coach has to be that guy. I think that's the strength with Ryan Smith. I think Ryan Smith knows the Heat guys so well that Ryan Smith is really going to change the trajectory for you guys. Not to take anything away from Todd. Todd's a fantastic coach. But I think Ryan Smith, he knows you guys so well that I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does with you guys.
He's fantastic.
I'm excited about it.
I love Ryan so much, and he has been crushing it. Like the way that he approaches the preparation and the process and the cohesion even like little tactful phrases that unite and things like that. Just all the details that are necessary for success, like we've been talking about. Fusion, yeah, they're being implemented, and that's what it takes. You can call it 1,000 different words too. There's so many words for that, but it takes real trust and cohesion and faith and belief in a process. And when you have that, you can accomplish anything. And we had that with Todd as well. And I'm super excited to continue with Ryan. He's a really savvy individual as well, really smart and tactful, and comes up with some really fun stuff that we can, you got to have fun too. It can't all be serious.
Yes.
And he has a great way of making sure that we're all having fun with that process as well. So major love to Rye.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. And the fourth thing, wow. Okay. I kept them all linear.
You got it.
The fourth thing was I had to go do the very first coaches show. After going 1-3 at World Cup.
Oh.
And I remember sitting here thinking, why would anyone care when I have to think about or think, and it was so tough. Like you said, Marcel, there's so many distractions. And I remember thinking, I don't want to do this. And Ryan had gone 1-3, right? With Notorious.
Talk to me, bro.
But
talk to me.
Yeah.
You know who you're talking to?
Right.
This guy's winning everything. I got to jump on here and be like,
He was about to say, I got to jump on here and be like, I love you. He fucking hates me.
No, I wasn't going to say that at all. That was not what I was going to say. So don't put words in my mouth. I was going to say I lost again. Not that, not that I'm pretending to love
That's my own
bro.
insecurities. That's my own insecurities.
I love you with all my heart. And
Tyler, you just got some insight into Marcelo. You just got some insight into Marcelo right there.
Yeah,
well played.
It's a difficult thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. And there are, dude, I totally know. Like last week, I'm sitting there on Tuesday, like, I'm just pissed. I'm just pissed off, and it's like, it's a brutal process, but through that pain, man, I'm telling you, that pain right there. And this, I've been staying up till midnight watching paintball. Like everyone goes to sleep and I'm like, I can't turn my brain off, like I'm driven crazy about this thing. And it's, I can't turn it off. So I empathize with you, brother. Totally.
And what made it worse is one of our losses was to Ryan and Notorious, and so he couldn't help himself. He's just stab. So, but
did you get him back? Did you get him back for this last one?
Well, no, because I mean, listen, this and that's the thing, right? I'm not what. There's
that's
so
right.
many things I can say.
No, that's right.
But listen, he's a competitor.
That's very carefully right now. Oh, that's what we're going with. That's
right. I'm just gonna
all this. You had all this great, and he's a competitor.
He's a competitor. So we had a great breakfast the next morning. We did a clinic, which you can find on the MLPB YouTube channel that debuted today. And we did a clinic together. And that morning during breakfast, I gave him my feedback on what I thought was happening with Diesel. And he's got it. He's got it. I'm not worried about him at all. The way that determines real champions, real winners, right? How do you bounce back from that? And to your point, Tyler, right? You're sitting there saying, I was pissed. I'm so angry. I'm staying at midnight. What are you going to do with that? What are you going to do with that feeling? Are you going to sit there and let it eat you alive? Or are you going to refocus that and turn it into something positive and get out on the field and start putting in the work? And if I know you're going to get out there and put it in the work. So I'm not worried about that for you, but no, it's been an incredible journey. And I mean, listen, we talk about how now what?
Yeah.
Right. You've got just an incredible, I mean, you've seen the draw. It's going to be an interesting second event. So how do people respond? How is Heat going to respond? How are the Hurricanes going to respond now that, we're up a first tier team? Incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Really excited to see how you guys perform in the next event. Cause it's like your one of your first goals was win 2 points in a row. Now it's got to be about putting 2 back-to-back events like that in a row. That kind of consistency, which you guys are absolutely capable of.
Yeah. But you just use the magic word, right? Consistent. Everyone talks about the secret to success, and it cracks me up. There is no secret. It's be consistent, show up, put in the work, right? Outwork the guy. If you think that guy's out there and he's getting up at 6 a.m., get up at 5:30. If that guy's staying out there till 6 p.m., stay there till 7. Do what you've got to do if you want to be competitive. And that's not just in paintball. Come on, man. That should be in your family life. That should be in your spiritual life. That should be in everything about your life. You've got to look at everything and see it as an opportunity. The people who look at the negative things that happen to them, those are blessings, man. Let's take those and let's draw them in and let's sit there and go, okay, this doesn't define me, but I'm going to define it. Let's go, brother. Right? Yeah. So you've got to sit there and you've got to headbutt it. It's got to be head first, man. You got to believe it with all your heart. And if you don't, well, man, I can't help you. Be a man or step off, lead or get out of the way. Let's roll. And I think that's what you guys have done such a great job of doing. And this is how I turn it back onto you and get the attention off me and talk about how you guys have been this incredible force, not just because of how successful you guys are as individual players. No one can ignore the fact that you guys are these incredible players. We talked about this at the summit, Marcelo. Tyler, we talked about this at the summit. I've got video of that, but that's going to be for my own personal collection. That one's not going out because there's some stuff that would just take too much editing. But
that would be a good conversation.
But I will say this. I mean, when you sit there and people obviously look up to you, you guys have set, right, a standard. And to maintain that standard requires you guys to work even harder. Because once you've met that standard, I know that drives you guys. You're not fooling anybody, because I know once you met the standard, now you see these people coming. Nope. We got to work hard, because I know Dynasty isn't sitting there saying, wow, Hurricanes almost had it. No, Dynasty's like, well, we got to work harder. I don't want the Hurricanes anywhere near us. And I don't mean that as like, oh, the Hurricanes. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Dynasty's driven. The reason why you guys are successful is because your formula is, hey, we got to work harder. Mm-hmm. And that's the same. It's the same thing we're doing with the Canes. Hey, man, it wasn't our time. We got to work harder. So how are we going to do it? So I've got to be a lot more efficient with my guys. We had Zoom calls. We've already talked about it. We're setting our goals. We're getting together. We're going to start grinding. And we don't have much time. I think we got 35 days or something until Texas.
Yeah, it's right here.
Better start clocking in, people.
Yeah, I mean, it's here. The tournament's here. It's just a few days away. So you gotta be dialed in. Yeah.
Mike, I want to talk to you a little bit. Speaking of tournament being here, how are you guys preparing for these events now? One weekend with an actual layout. What does that look like? I'm sure it's different from the 2 weekends. A lot of divisional teams are struggling to find out what they should focus on in 2-3 days at the most on the field.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we had 2 weekends, I had 2 very specific things I wanted to do. The first weekend, literally, we wouldn't usually have, it was usually us, just us, right? And people always thought that was strange. And we would have like a divisional team out there to bang against or whatever, or we'd bang against each other. But really that first weekend was learning the nuances of the field. It was such a in-depth field walk. And then the second weekend was practicing all the theories, right? Let's see if these theories, and then fine tuning those theories on Saturday night on that second weekend and saying, okay, this was working. This wasn't, let's polish this. Let's make this a micro adjustment here. And then really hammering it on Sunday and seeing what was working. I'm a statistical guy. I love math. Actually, I hate math. I just happen to be good at it. Anyway, I'll shut up. So now the question became, how do I fit all that into 3 days or 1 weekend? So it became an efficiency act. It became a balancing act of, okay, so I believe in foundational training. So when the layout comes out, we'll have that Zoom call on the night it comes out, because we all live apart. Some will get out to the field if they can. But most of us are on that Zoom call and we're doing a virtual walk together and we're developing hypotheses.
I love
hypotheses. All right. So we develop hypotheses. We think this, we think that, and therefore this, that, and the other. So we all make notes, especially me. I'll sit there and write it all down and come up with some concepts. Then we all meet that first, early AM, and we walk that field as a wolf pack. It's not individual. The entire team comes to this bunker. The entire team talks about this bunker, and we do what is called a SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats of this bunker. The most important question in paintball, divisional coaches and teams, listen up now, is why? Why do I want to be here? What can I do from here? And why do I want to do it from here? Right? So you have to ask yourself that question. And then we go to the next bunker. Okay. What are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of this bunker? Okay. Why would I want to be here? Right? What's the purpose? What can I do? How can I leverage this? And then literally an hour and a half later, we have our notebook and we have our, now we weigh that against the hypothesis and theories we created. And now we go, let's go fire them off and see what we do. Now, the next step, I mentioned foundational training. I build from the breakout out. So the training now becomes, okay, let's dial our lanes. Where do we think the highest percentage bunkers are? Let's figure out how to kill those. I want high percentages on those, right? Oh, this is a pivot bunker. Pivot bunker, for those who may not know, that's a term I use when I talk about a bunker that's going to be foundational in play creation, right? That's a pivot. Well, I want him dead. I don't want that guy to live past the break, right? So then it becomes a statistical analysis of shooting those. Now we move out. I start inside. How can we shoot the inside?
Hey, Mike, question, because this is something I argue with my guys all the time on. When you're trying to figure out statistics on how to shoot one of those spots, how many reps are sufficient to where you think you got enough? I have a few questions about this because I think you and I will probably be on the same page, and maybe I'm looking for some validation. All right. Say, on this last field we just played, you want to shoot the temple on the Dorito side. So you would be shooting right-handed, right? You want to shoot the temple on the Dorito side.
Roger.
How do you set that up? What does that look like to get a good statistical analysis of whether or not that spot is shootable?
And I'm shooting him from the home.
Yep.
Are we shooting him from the home?
From the home, correct.
If I'm shooting him from the home. So here's the thing. I'm not just going to, so I like 10 reps per shooter. So Drew Bell's going to run it 10 times.
In a row.
Stuart Ridgell's going to run it in a row. I might run him 5 and then get another guy in there and then run him 5. But long story short, I'm tracking it. But every one of my shooters is going to give me 10.
Okay.
Right. So I'll have 3 guys shoot it, 4 guys, whoever I think my shooters are. And that's an interesting thing. So you probably noticed I moved guys around a lot at this last event. Yeah. And it wasn't just because we had injuries, right? It wasn't just because we had injuries, because I'm starting to decide that, hey, I've got some guys that have some untapped talent that I want to start leveraging. And, Michael Brown, Justin Bailey, Jacob Seawright, freaking monster at this event. So it's one of those things where, I like math to be easy. So, all right, 10, you shot it 4 times out of 10. Well, that's 40%. That was easy. All right. Is it really a 40% bunker though? Because now you can look at it in the context, because it's not just the context of shooting that one bunker. Now I'm going to do a statistical analysis on a breakout drill, not just the single one-on-one. Now I'm going to do a 15-second breakout drill where paint's coming back and people are moving, there's chaos, and boom. And guess what? You're going to do it another 10.
Okay, so hold on real quick, Mike. So while it's one-on-one, how many shots so 10 each, but every single player does that? So 100 shots on that?
No. That's
okay,
great. It's going to be my shooters. It's going to be just my shooters, right?
Okay.
Like,
so
I'm not going to have, right. Yeah, that would be a safe assumption.
Okay. Now, do you dictate the route that the runner runs?
Yes, absolutely. Hey, so the first one is because you want to sit there and say, okay, we go in gunning, right?
100%. I'm so with you. We'll do these drills and like Ryan will like stand out, shoot back at you, and then run past the bunker. And he's like, well, you didn't hit me. And I'm like, look, I'm trying to learn if I feel like this person is going to run and shoot to that spot, if I could shoot him. Then I want to learn if I think this person's going to dive in, can I shoot him? We got to take the guesswork out of the drills, right?
Yeah, Ryan strikes me as that funny little imp that just wants to just drive you nuts, right? And by the way, that's not an insult. I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah.
That sounded that way. I apologize. Sometimes I got to check myself, but he's that guy that's like, right. You don't want to beat the drill, because if you're trying to beat the drill, you're beating the data and you're getting inaccurate data. So yes, I want a guy to go there. Hey, let's try it running and gunning first, putting paint back. Now let's just get straight in there. Now let's hip slide. Now let's dive. What happens to our trajectories at that point? And then you finally decide, what? A lot of guys are probably going to be hip sliding into this bad boy, right?
I know how to shoot.
They're not going to be gunning in there.
Yeah.
That's right. And then you get to the event and you realize the center is kicked up a little bit, which has changed the shot a little bit. And so you sit there and go, we're going to have to shoot that a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
100%.
which sucks because we can't practice on that one. So we had to go practice on another field. And I'm like, it's not the same concept.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. The field we
it's
practiced on was an entirely different field. Entirely. The spots you could be in to stop movement. I was like, this practice is let's leave.
I felt terrible for ours because like we were literally shooting 2 and 3 guys on the break for the first 5 points. And then I realized we were up 5 feet higher than the rest of them. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then we swap sides. They start shooting 2 or 3 sides. I'm like, well, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
So.
But there's an interesting thing there too with field walking. Like I don't complain about that in tournaments, actually. To me, that is it's part of the game. Just like the sun was in our eyes, on that one side. So I was like, you have to change your plays on that side. One, like you can't lose on the other side. So on the other side, it was like you can run really far on with your left hand because they literally can't see. I just shot from the other side. I can't see. So let's take advantage of that. Make sure we win those points. And if we could steal a point from the sun side, then we're sitting really good, right? There's strategy there. Same thing. Like if on one side of the field, this field, actually, the pro field had it. The side that we started on was harder to make the Dorito insert for the snake. It was easier to shoot that side.
Yes.
That's
the red side. The red side.
The red side. Yeah. So we played around that, And like that's part of walking the field. It's part of looking at angles and learning. To me, I enjoy that part of the game. Anytime there's more detail involved, I enjoy it. I don't complain about that.
I live for it.
Yeah, 100%.
No, I live for that.
Yeah,
because also on that same thing, right? If you use that mini wall on the cross, which is snake side on your side, to shoot to the opposite snake side insert on the red side, you could shoot it. But you never see the guy dive from the Dorito into the snake unless you went back to the Aztec behind it where you could get your feet underneath you and see a little bit higher. But then you turn around and you go to the other side. I can shoot it from this mini wall and I can see him feet. So those are the types of things. So we would, matter of fact, I was happy. We used that against Damage. It was our second match. And I was like, Damage is first point's going to be looking in the sun. We're going far, baby. Let's go. And that was the other thing. I think we were one of the few teams that realized that, hey, look, teams are overlooking this Dorito aspect. They're like, hey, no one's going to risk that big kill zone. And I'm like, well, why? I don't care if there's a big zone. I'd much rather run against one gun than 3 guns. So let's
100%.
push this. And so that was the concept. And I remember wanting to use that center so much. And I tried better ways to use it in practice. And I just kept getting thwarted. Because like, no, everybody can shoot you. And it was one of those things where I was trying to lock the field down on Friday, that first layout weekend. I was like, there's got to be a way. And I'm banging my head against the wall. And finally, a couple of my players came up to me and they're like, you got to let it go, coach. You got to trust us to make good executional things. I was like, well, everyone has to be aware of the hole. When we run this play, the hole's here. It's coming from here. If they make the read, we're screwed. Okay, when we do this play, the hole's here. We have to be aware of that. So, it's crazy.
It was a fun
like
layout.
Not having control.
Yeah, and with that one, the best you could ask for is just making sure you knew when they got into certain areas. You can't really control it, but you gotta know if they get into zones. We have to have some type of awareness of that, because if you don't, you're getting eaten alive, filleted. So, and I did appreciate the way that the layout played. And I think that they're going to be like that. Similar style, similar cadence of heavy pressure, big press all season long. I think it's going to be some pretty fast-paced paintball and some pretty aggressive paintball that we're going to see all 2024. So with the addition of all these, snake beams, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for movement. And as you've said, as we've stated in this show, the win goes to the runner. You got to be out there getting it.
Yeah. No, that's an excellent perspective. What I did appreciate about it was, even if they made certain key spots on the wires, right? That big wedge on that one side and your side of the field, it wasn't panic mode yet.
Yeah.
You didn't have to panic. There were safety valves you could leverage to pull things back. And luckily we were able to do that a couple of times. And then Dynasty did it to us. And I'm like,
yeah.
So
it was a fun one though.
I just remember. Yeah. Gary Baum sent me a photo and it said 4-2 Hurricanes, 3 minutes. And I'm just like, that's going to haunt me for a long time. But that's why they're champions. That's right. 100%. 100%.
That's man. Those are the types of things that you look at it and they push you in one of two directions. They either push you further from it or closer to your dreams. And I know the way you guys are working, you're going to use that as fuel for the future. And I do want to, before we dive into, we got some Discord questions and the community is really excited that you're on the show. I want to highlight your shirt. Your shirt is Zen and the Art of Paintball. For everybody out there, check it out on YouTube. And I don't know if you have any merch or if there's any way that we can support you, but we would love to, highlight anything that you're doing or any projects that you have. And I would love for you to share what that all means, Zen and the Art of Paintball, to you.
Okay, so I'm going to age myself a little bit here. So back in the early 80s, I read a book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's a great book. It's about a father-son thing. It's a great book. But I come from a fighting background. I studied the martial arts a lot, and I was a big Bruce Lee fan. I'm also a big John Wayne fan. Anything that's toxic masculinity, I love it. So let's go. So the whole concept was, I'm sorry. The whole concept was that, and this was actually my wife's idea. So I have a blog. It's zenandtheartofpaintball.com, all one word, www.zenandtheartofpaintball.com. And it's just a blog. And what was happening was my wife was telling me, hey, you've got to get these thoughts down on paper. You need to get this out of your brain. Because like you, Tyler, matter of fact, if you watch my quote Z-logs on the Zen and the Art, my paintball channel, which all that started as a joke. It was those Z-logs started as a joke because I wanted just to kind of remember the journey, right, with the guys, and we'll look back at it and laugh. And it's turned into something a little bit more than I expected it to be. People are actually like, Z-log. I'm like, oh, you're kidding me. But it's kind of cool. But it really is. It started for posterity for us and the Canes. And so my wife convinced me, she goes, you got to get this down on paper because you've been preaching about the process for so long. And she goes, you're always telling people if they'll just follow this process and these simple rules, they could be winners. And I'm like, well, okay. So she bought me the domain name. And next thing I know, I'm writing this blog and I'm literally, it's just conscious thought. I'm just literally, it's me like if I were talking to you two.
Yeah.
And so she has to go back and fix all my grammar. And, cause she's, a teacher, but anyway, it was crazy. I ended up getting asked to coach a team, D2 CEP. They said, hey, come coach us for this event. And they hadn't made it. They hadn't finished higher than 20th or something. Best they had done is 1-3 or something. So I said, well, if I'm going to do this, then I need to be at practices. I need to see how your process, this, that, and the other. And anyway, long story short, I ended up coaching them. They ended up starting making Sundays. And within 2 events, they're playing top 4. And then they asked me to come coach the next season, and they won the division.
There we go. And
people were like, maybe there's something to what this guy's writing. And I don't know. And honestly, gentlemen, I am standing on the shoulders of giants. I'm standing on the shoulders of Paul Richards, Shane Pastana, Rusty Glaze, Kevin Brownhour, all these people. They've done all this stuff. I just listened. I just watched. I just paid attention. And of course I had my own processes, right? Because that's what Bruce Lee talks about, absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, and make it uniquely your own. And that's the whole concept between Zen and the art of paintball. You've got to reach a point of Zen, which is understanding, personal understanding and calm. You've got to understand that this is a chaotic and dynamic sport. But if we can, this is the weapon. If we can use this, the rest of it comes, right? And that was the whole concept behind it. And if you want to help me out, you can actually help the Canes out. And you can go buy merchandise for the New Orleans Hurricanes at neworleanshurricanes.com. And it's just a simple store, not a lot there. But the New Orleans Hurricanes, I'd much rather you support them than Zen. Although Zen does have...
They're going to support it all.
And Zen does have you can go to Zen in the Art of Paintball, and there'll be a link up there for swag. I do plan on doing some things with Zen and Maxed Paintball and IHatePaintball.net. We're working on some things, but right now I would rather, the guys, we're broke. So if you really want to help me help the Canes, and that's go to neworleanshurricanes.com. Go give us go like our page on Facebook, go like our Instagram. Stu Ridgel does a great job on that stuff. And they're my heroes. Those guys, they mean the world to me. And I would do anything for them. So
love that. Yeah. Everybody.
I don't know if that answered your question.
Show some love. It did.
It did
perfectly.
Yeah. The website looks great too, by the way.
Yeah. Show some
Thank
love
you.
on there, PTG fam. And I think that there's a really powerful thing that you kind of hit on with Zen and paintball. There's a meditation that you have to really get set into when you're playing the sport. It is a highly cerebral sport, and you have to come correct with mentality and preparation, and you have to enter a state of Zen. And it's hard to do that because, like you said, there's so much chaos, but through that chaos you can find the calm. And I know that that's what the best players in the world do is in that madness, there is a stillness as well. And that's where we thrive at.
Bingo. Tyler, you couldn't have described it better. That's exactly the goal. The goal is to find that where the paintballs are coming in slow motion, right? Yeah. You can see the raindrops, right? That's now look, I'm getting a little geeky and nerdy there, right? We're going Matrix. But anyway, what I'm getting at is that when you're in that, from my combative days, right, when I used to fight, and now with my son who wrestles, right, it's called a flow state. And when you're in the flow state, like for a wrestler, right, if I go for a shoot and I get stuffed, I need to flow right to the next technique. It's the same concept when I used to kickbox and fight, right? I have to be able to be in that flow state. I have to be head movement. Okay, there he is. Oh, he dipped his left shoulder. There it is. Boom. Yeah. That kind of thing. And it's the same concept. Jeet Kune Do. In order for you to hurt me, you got to move to me, offer me a chance to intercept you. Yeah. All these different things. These are just philosophies that I applied to our sport. And our sport is a combat sport. Yeah. It's a team combat sport. And it's chess with guns, as they say. And if you can get into that Zen, into that flow state, and you can do that, not just individually, but when you're all on that page and you enter that team flow state, man, it's a beautiful thing to see. Yep.
It is. And it's timeless when everybody's hitting and firing together and you're knocking teams down. It's one of the best feelings in the world. That's why we're all so addicted to this sport, because of those moments, those moments. And I do have to say also, everybody go out there and support the Coaches Show as well. If you have not followed or support that, definitely go and give that a follow as well, because you guys are doing major work on the cerebral side, like we've been talking about through that project. And it's going to have a really profound effect as we move into the future with Major League Paintball. All of the branding that we're putting into making sure that Major League Paintball is as strong as possible, having that attached to it is so powerful for our sport.
Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. You're so kind. So I appreciate it.
Show love out there, everybody. Coaches Show.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's besides PTG, my favorite show in paintball. Truly, there's a lot to learn. It's really high level stuff. It's awesome to get that perspective, and it's unique, right? There's a lot of other great shows and podcasts, but getting the coach's perspective is really cool. As somebody who's a student of the game, it's an awesome thing to have. Yeah.
And
So-
we all need to be students of the game, though, right? The minute you think you know it all, you've stopped growing, and now you're stagnant, and you're going to be surpassed. And I think there's so many people I could thank for the insight. I mean, there's just so many, and not just all in paintball. And the paintball community has been absolutely incredibly gracious to me and the Canes, and we can't thank them enough. The support, the fans are fantastic. Everything about it is just been really surreal and incredible. And I wouldn't even know where to start, but I've just had a lot of great support. I would be remiss if I did not tell my absolutely stunning, beautiful, magnificent wife, Jennifer, that I love you and thank you for the support over the past 30 years of letting me go do this crazy thing that I do, and being that mama hen to all the other boys too, slapping them around saying, hey, mind your manners. So God bless her. And of course, to my beautiful children, my 4 beautiful children, Gabriel, Grace, Sean, and Timothy. Thank you for being patient with Dad.
That's what it's all about right there.
No.
That's everything.
So what do you say, boys? Should we hop into some Discord questions?
Yeah, let's hit it. The people are stoked that you're here.
Yeah,
Mike.
awesome. I have a good one here from Mark Paris. Mike, is it true that the secret to the Hurricane success is chugging 2 liters of orange Fanta? Now that the secret
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. Dude, we are trying so hard to get a sponsorship from Fanta. We are. By the way, the gentleman who is caught in the video drinking that is Justin Bailey. By the way, his new hashtag is Justin Fantana. And
that's great.
There's a story behind that. So him and Jacob Seawright, we had planned to win that match, right? And they thought it would be funny to get up on stage and spray the rest of the team down with orange Fanta to make us all miserable and sticky before we go to the Summit Awards. Well, he decided since that wasn't going to happen, he would just drown his sorrows with it and get diabetes. So that's kind of where it went. His story is, hey, it was the only thing left in the cooler. We all know that's a lie. So I think he just likes orange Fanta.
That's awesome.
Great question. Thank you. That's fantastic. Thank you for that. I'm glad someone brought that up.
We have some funny memes in the Discord as well. If you're not in the PTG Discord, you're just missing out. It says, when the team manager remembered to get the orange Fanta for the cooler, and y'all are just going crazy, like hype, super hype for the YouTube.
That's Sasha. Did Sasha Zucker do that one?
He did.
Love you, Sasha. Thank you. It was hysterical. I loved it, especially with all of us going, yeah, we got the Fanta. We lost a dynasty, but we got Fanta. So
he's
too
so
funny,
good, man.
too funny.
He's one of the best
he
people
is.
in our community. We love him.
Oh, he's great. I love the Pod Runners Union and all that.
Yes.
Good stuff.
He's got his merch too out there. If y'all want some Pod Runners Union
Give him
merch.
some love.
Let's go, Papa Sash.
Yeah. Let's go, Papa. All right, let's see. I got Marcus here. Huge fan of the Coaches Show and watch it because of you, Mike. You're amazing inspiration for him. That said, Mike, do you believe paintball should implement a salary cap? And if yes, what is your idea of how this could be deployed?
Oh, wow. And now listen, you're getting above my pay grade there, Marcus. Because I don't have one. It's interesting, right? Do I think there should be a salary cap? My guys are gonna compete no matter what. We're competing. None of us are paid. And I think that's part of the story. My guys do it because they love it, right? And there's a love for that sport. I wish everybody could get paid. I'll be honest. I think eventually once that happens, that's the legitimacy that everyone's looking for. I think that's when you start really seeing players and coaches and the legitimacy of the sport coming. If there was some way we could figure out how to make this affordable for the pros, right? We're the only professional sport that the pros pay to play. We have an entry fee. We have to pay for paint. We have to pay for that. And honestly, I think to answer your question, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I know that's a cop out, Marcus. I'm so sorry.
We need a minimum salary before we could have a salary cap. How about that?
That's kind of where I'm coming, Marcelo.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting that into perspective.
All the players need to
we got to get everyone paid first. We got to get everyone paid first. We got to get enough money to where the league can pay everybody. Right. And then we can have those discussions.
100%.
Get everyone paid, then let's have that discussion. But right now, I wouldn't know where to start.
Yeah, and that's exactly in my mind. I'm like, oh, we got to start. There's
totally.
We got a long way to go, and it's still we're so early in this game, and as long as we can remember that, and just keep that in the forefront of our mind, and just keep embracing the love of paintball, and keep sharing this game with as many people as we can. That's really the jewels of the game right there, because it's just we're really early. That's baseball. All these other sports, football, they've been around for so long, and paintball is a very new age technology based sport that is catching a lot of eyes, but still very early.
Right.
100%.
I mean, in the other sports, you only have one ball to fall. You only have one ball to follow. So it's hard to explain it. That's why I love when Maddie gets certain guys like Marcelo and yourself up in the booth, because you guys can put it into layman's terms and explain to the average, watcher, hey, what's happening? And that's what I try to do when he invites me up there. I also try to keep my mouth shut and listen, because I'm usually up there with people like Marcelo and, Colt Roberts and stuff like that. So I'm going to listen and try to
stop it. This imposter syndrome thing's got to go. I'm up there like, this is Mike Bianca right here. I want to hear what he has to say.
You better stop it. You better stop it.
It is what it is, Yeah. All right. We got BJ Manny's. Mike, what is one aspect of the game you feel your coaching brings to the table that differs from the rest?
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's a lot to unpack. There's when we talk about styles, the minute we start saying this is my style, we limit ourselves. So, because by saying that, I put myself in a box. This is my style. Well, I like to think that I'm going to do what's necessary to draw the best out of my team. You've got great guys like that. Look at Shane Pastana. Shane Pastana will sit there and pull a performance out of a player, right? It's incredible to watch him do it. So, I wouldn't say I bring anything specifically other than the fact that I know my players so well. I know that they're children when they were born. I'm the godfather to some of them. I check in with those guys regularly. I know what makes them tick. And when I know my player that well, then I should be able to know what I can get out of them and what they're capable of. And I think that's, if I were to say there's any strength, it's knowing my guys and their capability. And of course, there's a symbiotic relationship there, right? Where my guys, they want to win. They want to be there. They want to fight for me, just like they know I want to fight for them. Because I'll tell you this, you end up in a barroom fight, all the Cajuns are coming. We're all coming. It's not just one of us. So I think that's really what I think is creating that culture of that team identity of we are in this together. If we're going to spend time away from our families, if we're going to be away from our wife and children and our jobs, and we're going to spend this kind of money, then damn it, we better give 150% when we're together. And I think that's what we bring, or I bring, or they bring, or we bring. Bringing. It's brought.
Bringing it. It is brought, baby.
Brought in.
Brought in.
All right. Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, we got E. Lambs. Mike, you have a hell of a weekend and get to your first finals. You go up 3-0 against the boys in blue, and then they do the best to come back. What do you do to ensure that this doesn't happen again next time you guys make the final? Are there changes you make as a coach, or is it in the mental preparation for the players for the next time?
It's in the mental preparation. I don't think what we did, we talked about this earlier. I don't think we came off the gas. Dynasty got hot. Dynasty made some quick counters. We missed a couple of things. Look, the scramble, when we talk about the scramble, right? That's the mid game. That's when the real chaos is happening. Something just happened. A body just dropped. A job changed, right? So these things happen, and it's that processing speed. And Dynasty has incredible processing speed. Tyler Harmon has incredible processing speed. My guys are still working on developing a faster processing speed. It's road miles, boys. I got to get my guys experience. And the more we see it, the more we're there, the more that we get those opportunities, my guys' processing speed will improve. We got to get that CPU, firing with a little additional RAM, if we're using these computer analogies that I'm driving myself crazy with and I need to get off of. So I think that's the answer. I think once we get to that position, it's just the process. Yeah. Go up 3 like that. No, I don't necessarily change anything. Keep in mind, gentlemen, also, and this is not an excuse, but keep in mind, Seawright, he was a force to be reckoned with, actually was injured earlier on in the match. In the final point, in the overtime point, he ends up making it the corner. He's pulled his hammy. The first minute of that point, he's not in the fight. And he had actually started to hurt himself 4 points in. And I asked him, I said, hey, and that's what I love about him, right? This is what I love about my guys. They find that 5th gear, right? That 6th gear. And I'm like, hey, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I just need 1 point to sit. So I'm thinking it's a gas tank thing. I don't realize his hammy's killing him. And so that's something that might need to change, right? Because when he looks at me, he doesn't want to disappoint me. He doesn't want to be that guy that says, no, I can't go. He wants to be that guy. I can go, coach. Put me in. I want it. And he goes out there and ends up pulling it so bad that, and Nick Ripple's out there on a broken ankle, giving me 150% running, right? And I ran him. I'm like, hey, can you go to the snake? Yes, coach, I can go to the snake. I'm like, God, I love this guy, right? Britt Simpson going out there. He's got a tweaked knee. The guy dislocated a knee. He had to have therapy for it. The guy's out there going, yeah, give me the ball. So it's not an excuse, but my guys gave 150%. At the next time we're there, they're going to give me 160. That's the answer.
There we go. Love that. Yeah, dude. They have gumption, man. Heart, big heart.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I was going to ask how Seawright was doing. How's he doing post event? Is he healing up?
He's going to survive. We didn't tear anything. Anything after the event. Awesome. The first thing, I'm not sure if people saw this, but he came into the pit after we lost that point, and he's limping and he's in pain, and everyone's like, this, that, and then I said, I don't care about all that. Are you okay? And that's the first thing I did. I started checking his hammy to see if any of the muscles had rolled, or if he had a lump, or was this painful? Right. And he pulled it pretty bad, but he'll be back. He'll be effective for Dallas. So, okay. That was what was really important. That was really important to me. I didn't, the moment at that point, because, and I'm not saying that for any other reason than I think that's why the Canes are successful, because we do care about each other. And there are some things that are more important. And right then because all I'm thinking was like career ender, right? If he's torn that hammy, that's it. His season's done. And I didn't want him to have that, especially when he had given me 150%. Right. But next time I want him to be a little bit more honest with me. It's not the gas tank. I think I pulled my hammy. Okay. Well, I need to know that. So, all right. Now I didn't have a lot of guys that could do what he did. Right. But the fact that he was able to look me in the eye and say, I want it.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to hear he's doing good. Okay.
Yeah.
And that it's not torn.
And thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
All right. We have Patty Rice. Coach Bianca, what are characteristics you think are most important in successful divisional coaching in paintball?
In divisional coaching?
Yep.
Characteristics? Oh, well, we've already talked about one, communication. You have to be able to put your thought and your concepts, your vision into words to where your entire team understands it, that there's no misunderstanding, right? So that's one. Holding your players accountable, but also holding yourself accountable, right? I think as a coach, if you're going to be a leader of men, if you're going to put yourself into this position, then you have to recognize, you have to have a servant's attitude. Good leaders, good coaches have a servant's attitude. And that is, what can I do to help you be the best you can be? So once your team recognizes that it's genuine and it has to be genuine. It can't be manufactured or faked because the team will know, and then you're est. So anyway, I would say communication, accountability, and logistics, especially in divisional paintball. Get the logistics stuff, get all that crap that distracts from your team. Get the hotel taken care of, get the carpool taken care of, get everything, have an agenda, have a goal. We're going to be here at this time. We're going to meet at this time. By the way, this is what everything costs. Get all that done well ahead of time so that when it's time for you guys to go and play an event, you focus on being the event. When it's time to practice for the event, you're focusing on preparing for the event. Get that crap out of their way. Handle it. As a good coach will get the distractions out of his player's way and let his player be a paintball player. That's all I got. I just made that up. I hope it.
That's perfect.
It's okay.
All right, we got
Love it.
Clint Riddle, Coach Bianca. Would you be willing to share a moment of struggle with us? Has there been a time where you lost your cool with the team? If so, how did you recover?
That's a great question. Yes. Yes. Coach is Sicilian. I can't tell that one. And boy, that involves some pointy sticks. Anyway, no, on a serious note, I shared this story actually. This is probably the most recent, but I love the fact that you ask about struggle. Struggle, that is such a great question. There's two I can share. World Cup, one. I didn't have the words. I failed my team because I didn't know how to get them back. We're pooping the bed. And I'm like, a good coach, a good leader should be able to recognize what's the problem, what's the issue. And I failed my guys because I wasn't able to recognize it till after the fact. And that was tough for me. And that was very tough for me because now my guys will tell you that, no, it wasn't your fault, coach. And I get that. I appreciate that. That's great. It's wonderful. But I felt like I failed them. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? And let me tell you, I struggled with that hard, very hard, because I really blamed World Cup on me. I said, what was my preparation with the team not right? Was my call play? Was my line calling not right? Did I not have where were the words? Why did I not have the wisdom or the words to give to my men and help them overcome this adversity? And it was bad. It was tough for me. And I prayed about it. I wear my faith on my sleeve, guys. If I make anyone uncomfortable, too bad. I prayed a lot about it. And you just got to be able to sit there and recognize the fact that, hey, okay, we fell short. All right. What are you going to do about it? You know? So exactly I can either sit there and,
just like my dad. My dad would always tell me that. He would always say those words, like, what are you going to do about it? It's so funny that you spearhead a lot of your thought off of that, because it's like hardwired into my brain from my dad from growing up. He was an Army Ranger, Special Forces officer, so he has that.
There it is.
That pointed mentality.
Yeah, that's why you're champion, Tyler. You know, it's like we talked about with Jocko. Good. Hey, we don't have what we need for this. Good. Right? Because it makes us rise to the occasion. The other struggle. I remember one time I had a player question why I was running a specific drill. And I had a lot going on at home. And I don't share that with my guys. Now I do. We share everything. But I had a lot going on at home. There were some financial issues going on. My son had been in a car wreck, all these horrible things, right, are going on. I was like, well, okay, no room for that. Got to focus on these guys right now, right? Be in the moment. And someone questioned me, and it was the way they questioned it. And I remember just going, will you shut up? And then I lost my stuff. I did. I said, will you shut up? I shouldn't have to explain this to you. You're doing it because you suck at this right now. And we need to improve it. If I have to explain why we're doing this, you know what? You may not suck at it right now, but some other people on the team suck at it. You need to quit being selfish. And I remember losing my stuff like that. And at the same time, I stopped, and then I turned around. And I said, I'm sorry. I should not have yelled. It was not necessary. I could have made my point. And I'll never forget what happened. My player looked at me and goes, no, I like this new guy. I like this guy. And I went, I don't want to be that guy, but he's there. But it did. But it was funny. It's like, funny. I like this new guy. Yeah. More of this. And I'm like, funny. Okay. So broke a clipboard.
Oh, welcome to the gang.
Yeah.
That's right.
Speaking of gang, Mike, my last question from the Discord is from CB2K. Shout out to Macroline gang in here. Yeah. He goes, in your Vegas recap blog post, you briefly mentioned the dynasty equation. Can you please elaborate on that? I'm curious as well.
Yes. Okay. So in my blog, the dynasty equation, which was essentially, hey, I'm going to get my high probability guns up, right? I'm going to cover these high probability zones. I'm going to get my 5 guys out alive. I'm going to roll my guns. I'm going to establish a good communication form. I'm going to know the situation, and I'm going to counterpunch. I'm going to make the read. It was what I was calling SK, right? The read offense. So you kind of, and tell me I'm wrong, Marcelo, 2 at home, the 2 Aztecs with a quick inset to the wall for the cross to control that zone, and then feed off any type of chaos or win a gunfight, right? I'm dynasty. I've got Marcelo Margot. I've got Ryan Greenspan. I've got Archie Montemayor. I'm going to win a gunfight eventually, because the dynasty equation is this. It's very simple. I don't care if you win the first point. I don't care if you win 2 points. On paper, I'm going to beat you eventually. And when I do, I'm just going to roll with it. Statistically speaking, you got to look at the numbers. Dynasty is on paper is going to beat 90% of the teams, 60% of the time, 75% of the time, however you want to look at it. So the dynasty equation is I'm going to get my assets, my best chess pieces into the fight early. And then I'm going to make that read because I've got that processing speed. You don't. That's the dynasty equation to me.
You know, it's funny. And you related it to basketball. You brought up Paul Richards and how he related zone offense, and maybe I don't know if what you meant was, so I'm not familiar with zone offense in basketball, but there's like the triangle offense, which is exactly that. It is read. Right. You know, people think if they hear triangle offense and they think it's a very structured, you know, somebody down in the post, 2 up high on the wing, and you know, you pass the ball a certain way. Mm-hmm. It is a complete system based off of if this, then that. That's what the triangle offense is.
There it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
It's a complete system based off of if this and that is our entire game. Now we do choreograph where we want to pull guns with play calling and which direction we go and having some trickery, certainly. But every single play gets broken down into if this, then that. So you have your breakout, but then it's very read offense, 100%.
That's right.
I personally really enjoy 5 alive and then read offense, but you have to have the splash every now and then. Otherwise you just won't win. You have to be able to, you know, have that balance. But yeah, when you're really comfortable with the teammates around you, being 5 alive and in position to communicate, you know, understand, read the field, maybe get a kill off the break and have a body advantage. That's when you're able to win a lot of events. You know, that's the key right there.
Absolutely right. Mm-hmm. And this, you bring up a great point, and maybe Paul was dumbing it down for me because, you know, I'm not that sharp of a fellow, but the trying, like you said, it is that simple. So what I would say is, you know, we talk about this, right? The breakout's not the play. Too many people think that, okay, well, I'm sending a guy here and you 5 are all going to go here and you're all going to shoot this way. And that's the play. No, the breakout is the transportation system that leads to putting us in position to execute the play, which is ultimately a goal, right? So there's so many stepped processes that people, they don't break it down. Like you said, it's a choreographed ballet. Correct. And there are certain things like we talk about the rope-a-dope, which, by the way, go look up Muhammad Ali and the rope-a-dope. For those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, learn yourself something today and read a book. And so it's one of these things where a lot of a lot of divisional plays. I've seen it. I see it in the pro division often. A lot of divisional coaches don't look at things from a perspective of, like you said, if A, then B. It sounds simple, but and it is. But as paintball players, we complicate things. We make things so complicated, and it's not. It's like, look, it's like a street fight, or in Kempo karate, right? If I strike this particular nerve here in this arm, it causes this reaction, which leads you to the next strike. And then boom, we're doing this, that, and the other. And I'm creating these opportunities by making you react a particular way. Mm-hmm. And if you can look at a paintball match or a point as a street fight, right? The layout is your environment, right? It's the garbage can lids you can use to hit a guy over the head with, whatever you got to do, right? We don't fight fair, but don't cheat, except in a fight. If you're in a real fight, then you cheat. But anyway, but it's one of those things. You got to look at it that way. You have to look at it. How can I create this reaction? Because that reaction, I'm looking for that reaction so that opens my opportunity and leads to this next move. That's all it is. It's when we complicate it, right? Mm-hmm. And this field was easy to do that on, by the way, right? And here's the thing, and It was really simple. It's like, and when the counter came, right? Believe it or not, there was a lot of if A then B counters on this field.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're on all of them. Yeah.
Yep.
You could get deep into those conversations.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. I'm about to nerd out again.
Well, the full breakdown will be coming on the coaches show. You'll be breaking it all down in there, and we can't wait to see.
I love it.
You're going to be doing a bunch more like actual game breakdowns as well. I would say moving into the future now that you have all that data.
Yes, that's the plan. The plan is to really try and break down certain matches. And like I was saying, we want to emphasize certain aspects of the coach's mentality and perspective. Okay, why did Skinny call this play on this point? Right? It's 4-3. Why did he call this play? And why did he move Arch here instead of Arturo? That kind of analysis and understanding it. It's just easy to use Dynasty as an example. But that kind of analysis of, okay, why did he have his gun this way? Why did he tell him, hey, the attack has to come from the center? Well, because if you look at the positioning, these zones are controlled now, which is creating the flow of combat to this point. Yeah. Right. So we're creating that opportunity, that kind of stuff. I can't wait. I want to do the Madden. He won't give me the marker. I want the marker, but they won't give me the marker.
Well, it's just going to be great for the YouTube, for everybody to see that's attached to the Major League Paintball. It's going to be phenomenal. My last question is from Lil B from the Bean. Mike, big
Lil
fan.
G from the Bean.
He put Little B. He changed it.
Did he change it on us?
He changed it.
Oh, this guy. Oh, it is Lil
man.
B.
Yeah.
FRCM.
Yeah.
Oh, Georgie. I wonder if it's a troll.
Georgie boy. Could be. Mike, big fan. Love seeing the culture you've brought to LAX. My question, with you and a few players coming from Prime, how did the New Orleans Hurricanes come about, and what philosophy changed from Prime to now? And then we didn't really hit on this, but we always go through how a player got started. So I would also, to couple that, would love to know how you got started in paintball.
Okay. All right. Well, the Prime Hurricane thing is, I can sum that up very quickly for you. Mm-hmm. 3 of the Hurricanes played for me on Prime. Yeah. So they were already familiar with that culture. Right. And I remember I got the phone call from Stuart Ridgell, and I had done a clinic for the Hurricanes when they won Chicago. By the way, knocked Prime out in the quarterfinals. So that's the last time I ever did a clinic for them, when I was still playing. But anyway, so I remember going down there, and they invited me down to a practice, and I got down there and I just realized it's the same culture. It's the exact same culture. The only difference was the Hurricanes, man. I remember making this comment. I was like, man, you guys have this incredible overhand right. You guys know how to throw punches, but boy, you don't know how to box. You don't know how to jab. You don't know how to throw straights. You have no footwork. I mean, they were the epitome of bloody knuckles. Like, we're going to die, and we're going to die going forward hard. And so, but they had that culture. They had that accountability. They had that, hey, we understand how hard we have to work. We understand what we're up against. And once I recognized that, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to be here, because it was Prime again. And I missed Prime. And, Prime ended sooner than it probably should have. But so it was great to embrace that. But don't get me wrong, they had their unique own approach to things, but they just embraced me. I embraced them. And it just became this incredible. I mean, it was like, it was incredible. And we just, like, day one, we locked in, and it was awesome. So that's where that came from. Jacob Seawright, Aaron Pate, Justin Bailey all used to play with Prime. And I used to do clinics for the Canes. And then they called me and said, hey, we're missing one piece. We think you would be a good coach. And then we won World Cup. Hooray. So that's how it happened. And, but now where I came from, 1993, I'd gone native. I'd been kicked out of the Marine Option program at Auburn University. I was a big disappointment to my family, but they still love me. And I was genetically bred to be a Marine, and I failed. So that was a turning point for me. At 19 years old, I had lost my scholarship in the Marine Option program. I couldn't afford to go to school anymore. Came home, got a real job, and then worked up enough money. And then one day, my mom's staring at the TV. And she goes, I can see you doing that. And the weather was on at the time. And what, you want me to be a weather? And she's like, no, yeah, a newscaster or something. Oh, and I was like, well, I have a face for radio. So I ended up, she goes, well, I was like, what do you need to do that?
And look,
goes,
the coach's show. You guys talk about that? We had that conversation
I know.
with her.
I'm like, I told him, I said, what are you doing? Now people can see me? This is horrifying. So, but no, I ended up going to Mississippi State and got a degree in communications with minor in psychology. And what's funny is while I was there, I met some guys who were part of a paintball club.
This all makes sense.
And this
now.
would have been,
it's all coming together.
This would have been 1992, 1993, 1990. Yeah, 92 or 93. And they took me out to play some outlaw ball, and I got shot with a gator ball, right? Black shell, neon green gator ball. And it was easily doing 380, 400 because it went through my fatigues and I was bleeding. And I remember thinking, hell yeah, where's that guy? I want to find him next. And it was just such an adrenaline rush. And it just snowballed from there. And I remember when I saw my first, back then they were playing hyperball. And, you had autocockers and automags and all stuff. And I remember thinking, man, that's cool. I went and watched my first speedball, hyperball. And I was like, there's no skill in that. That's accuracy by volume. And then I went out and played it. And I was like, oh, I get it. I get it. I get it now. And then the rest just became history. And I remember there was this really good team in the area called Fear Factory. And several of the guys wanted me on the team, but I had a tipman. And they're like, no, because they all had angels and autocockers. And
Tipman.
That's
the
minute,
Tipman.
I know.
Yeah.
And I went out there and I was beating some of them with this tipman. I was smoking them, and toot my own horn again. There we go. But the day I got an autococker, I got a phone call and I was asked to join the team. And then the rest is history. It just took over. It just took over. It became an obsession. And I eventually opened my own field. A lot of people don't know that I owned my own field in Sturgis, Mississippi, called Legends Paintball. And I had, and that's where I started developing a lot of the drill sets that I was doing. Cause when you own your own field, you're like, well, no one's out here yet. I'm going to go run some drills. And you do these drills and then you start working with people and all this stuff. And I'll never forget because a guy came into the pro shop one day and says, Coach, you've got to see this. It's this DVD from this team called Dynasty. I'm like, I know Dynasty. Yeah. Dynasty's awesome. What it's a DVD. And they're like, yeah, check it out. They're doing a lot of the stuff you're doing. And I'm like, what? And it was called Dynasty Dissected. And they had all these drills and they were doing all these really cool things. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. We do that. And it was really, really neat to kind of be, oh, wow, and then, Prime went on and became the thing. And, I moved to Alabama and all this stuff. And then I met Shane Pastana. And Shane thought that I was pretty smart. He said, hey, you seem to know what you're doing. Would you like to talk? And I remember laughing, going, yeah, sure. Okay. Shane Pastana is going to call me. Well, damned if he didn't call me. And
what a guy, man. Shane's the best.
And then he invited me out and I played with royalty and we just started hanging out, and then he introduced me to Mike Hinman, and then Mike Hinman and I are talking, and then that's kind of where it comes from. I'm sorry, I'm babbling. I'll shut up now.
No, that's
I didn't know you played with royalty. Did I?
Well, now look, I didn't play with the pro team. What happened was Shane. It was actually kind of funny. I'll have to send you a video. There's a Z log on it, but it's not really a Z log.
Okay.
It's from previous. Shane called me up. He says, "Hey man, I got this. I'm trying to get this royalty team. They were competing in the WCCPL, Mike Hinman's league, fantastic league. Shout out to what he's doing." And he says, "Hey, they need some fire. They hadn't made a Sunday in like a year and a half. And I'm 45 years old, I think, at the time, or something like that. I think I was, or maybe I was 43. But I was like, okay. So I went out and spent some time with Shane at his family, business, and then we drove to Vegas, and we get out there, and he had Jerry Caro pick me up and from the airport. And anyway, we go out there, and it was funny because we got out there, and I remember I wanted to test the layout. It's the first time I'd seen the layout. Jerry goes out there and takes me to the field to work on the layout a little bit before I meet the team and all the stuff. And Jerry's like, "Oh, Jerry, I want to see if I can shoot this inset can." He's like, "I don't think you can do that." And I was like, "Well, go for it." And so I'm shooting, and Jerry goes, "Man, you shot me 3 out of 5. And he's like, "You're definitely going to do that with 12.5. WCPPL's 12.5. And I was shooting 10.5 at the time. And he's like, "It's 12." I was like, "Oh, 12.5, let's go." And it still had the A, right? This is when we had the wall, and they still had the A. And I was like, "Let's rock." And I don't know what came over me, right? I'm standing next to Shane Pastana. I've got these new guys. And I remember the guys coming up, and they're like, we lost the first match. And I remember they're like, "Ooh." And I lost my stuff, and I started grabbing them by the collars, and I was like, "Listen, I didn't travel 1,400 miles to come out here and not win. So y'all better get your faces up. Let's roll. Let's get it." And Shane, what I didn't realize is Shane's in the background going, yes, this is why I brought you. I want you to headbutt somebody. Don't send him to the hospital, but definitely light a fire. And then we ended up, now we didn't win the event. We got second, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And
that's epic. Yeah.
Legendary.
And I need to quit. Career. I'm sorry. I'm very animated.
This is amazing.
It's we're getting a drum set in the background over here for all the listeners.
That's the passion, man.
He's my bad.
The passion.
He's banging on the desk because he means.
Oh
it,
man, Roque Cagnoni, man. Roque Cagnoni.
Yeah.
I'm Italian. I've got that
Yeah,
passion.
I love it.
So.
Yeah, and I mean all the names that you just mentioned are some of our favorite people of all time in paintball.
Yes.
So just outstanding that you were able to cultivate relationships with those people, and obviously they see what we all see in you, and that is that you have an amazing love for paintball, and you really care about what you do, and it shows in everything that you do. So we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the show, man. It means the world to all of us, and I know the listeners are super stoked that you made the journey into PTG world. So thank you, Mike, for taking the time.
I am blessed. I am truly blessed. Thank you so much for the opportunity. You guys are incredible, and I love what you're doing, and I can't thank you enough for giving me an opportunity to speak. I know I have a tendency to babble. But,
dude, bang that desk.
You're welcome.
Let's go.
Fantastic. I love it.
Mike, you're welcome anytime, brother. You are somebody that a lot of players truly enjoy listening to, whether you believe it deep down or not. I promise you, your voice is highly respected. Your opinion's respected. So anytime you want, you have a seat here at PTG. Thank you for taking the time, as Tyler said, and I'm sure we'll see you very soon.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you. And if you want to drop any like shout outs or anything, now's the time. I don't know. I put you on the spot here, but any shout outs for anything, this is where you can do it.
Well, obviously the New Orleans Hurricanes, go give us a like on our Facebook page or Instagram. Big shout out to one of our newest sponsors. I can't thank our sponsors enough. GI Sports, Planet Eclipse, Twister, Committed Paintball, Gen X, JT, goodness gracious, I'm going to forget somebody. And I'm going to get in trouble for it too. My bad. It's just all our sponsors have been at Carbon Paintball. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. Walker, all of them have just been the best. LAX, shout out to Drew Bankston, LA Extreme Paintball. To all my Slidell Cajun friends, God bless you. Thank you for the support. To all our fans, we love you. We can't thank you enough. You guys are the best. And obviously, to you two gentlemen, thank you for everything you do for the sport. When
you guys bringing Crunchy back?
Hey,
Sean McDonald.
Hey, listen, Sean McDonald, man, he's on I think he's a boat captain down there.
He is, yeah.
And God bless that guy. He's an amazing human being. He's just an absolutely amazing human being.
One of the best.
Animal on the field.
Yeah.
And everybody, be sure to show love, support everybody that that comes on the show and shows love for paintball. And let's keep doing everything that we can to highlight this game in the best way possible out there.
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
All right, my brothers. Have a great night.
Peace.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to ptgpaintball.com. Click the orange Patreon link in the corner and support the show. We greatly appreciate it. We have tiers as low as $1.99 a month. That is nothing, guys, and it'll give you access to the Discord where you get access to the players chat and get to mingle with the entire PTG community. We have tons of different pros in there. Tyler and myself are very active, and it's an amazing way to support the show. We also have amazing other tiers. If you want to be one of the best, want to be a GOAT, sign up for the GOAT tier. It's the greatest way to support us, and each month we do a private live stream show, one-on-one kind of thing, to where it's just the GOATs, and Tyler, myself, will bring in some special guests every now and then, but you get to ask us questions in real time, live, on the air, and you get lots of inside juicy news that we don't share on the show. So, as always, we will see you guys very soon.